Chapter 1653. It wasn't easy to enter a small world in the land of despair. One had to obtain the permission of the heavenly Tao of the 9 prefectures or be stronger than the heavenly Tao of the 9 prefectures. Only by being stronger than Yi Ching Han would one be able to force their way into the land of despair. The Buddha led the 18 monks and the 4 tigers of the land of despair into the depths of the land of despair. At this moment, in the land of the 9 prefectures' divine martial palace, Yi Ching Han looked at the elite guard. She was in the midst of breaking through to the world overlord realm. It wasn't that her talent wasn't good. It was just that she had been suppressed by Yi Ching Han several times. He wanted her to become a peak-level emperor in the same realm. Once she broke through to the world overlord realm, she would be able to fight against the experts of the older generation. The elite guard didn't disappoint. Today, she once again broke through to the world overlord realm and successfully stepped into that realm. Her world was expanding and the heavenly Tao of the 9 prefectures was becoming more strict. As long as time allowed, she would become an existence like Yi Ching Han sooner or later. Boom! Buzz! The order of the 9 prefectures suddenly trembled. The heavenly Tao rumbled and dark clouds covered the sky. Yi Ching Han stepped out of the divine martial palace and looked up at the sky. With a thought, he connected with the heavenly Tao and felt the heavenly Tao of the 9 prefectures. He discovered that the people who wanted to invade the land of despair weren't from hell but from the eternal world behind the holy light. I didn't want to have conflicts with the people of the eternal world. Unfortunately, someone actually came to provoke me. Yi Ching Han frowned and muttered to himself. His figure flashed and he teleported to the border of the Beast Emperor continent. Lin Wuxian's sword sect was here and he was also alarmed. He appeared beside Yi Ching Han and looked at the distorted holy light as if a passage was about to appear. Second Master, are we going to stay in the land of the 9 prefectures and not go to the eternal world? Lin Wuxian looked up at Yi Ching Han and asked respectfully. Yi Ching Han looked at the distorted holy light and shook his head. We will only suffer heavy losses if we enter the eternal world rashly. Even if we go there, it's not the time. But they want to come in. Should we let them in and kill them one by one? Asked Lin Wuxian. Yi Ching Han still shook his head and smiled. These people have no enmity with us, so there's no need to become enemies. If we kill them, we don't know if an eternal will appear, so we just need to block this place. With that said, Yi Ching Han controlled the order with his will, causing the holy light to distort and shatter the passage. Back in Eternal World, Buddha Wanjun and the 4 tigers of desperation had attempted to break apart the barrier a few times only to find that it was broken apart. Seeing that, they could not stop themselves from feeling surprised. To think that there would be such an expert in such a small region. I'm getting more and more interested, Wang Shahu said with a sneer. However, Wanjun Buddha had a heavy heart. He stared at the order of the other side and reminded hoarsely, no, this small region has grown a lot. A sector lord is actually willing to give up his own world to merge with this small region, allowing it to grow into a medium region. We might not be able to enter. Humph. I don't care about that. Since I'm here with you, you can't give me less than the divine pills you promised me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite, Wang Shahu said coldly. Shua. Wang Yuhu, Wang Canghu, and Qin Tianhu stepped forward at the same time. Their eyes flashed with an ominous glint as they glared at Wanjun Buddha. Wanjun Buddha frowned as he looked at the 4 villains. Unwilling to provoke them, he suggested, I'll use the Tao scripture of reincarnation to send you and the 18 monks into the 9 worlds. Are you confident you can kill Yi Ching Han? Wang Shahu's lips curled up as he said disdainfully, you don't have to doubt my combat power. Under the eternal realm, there are less than 100 sector lords who can defeat me. This Yi Ching Han you speak of is merely the master of a small world. You're taking him too seriously. Send me in and I'll help you deal with your target and capture his soul. I don't want you to say that I didn't do my job after taking your resources. Wanjun Buddha smiled. He put his palms together and rotated them. After releasing them slightly, the Tao of reincarnation appeared in the center of his palms. Hua! The Tao of reincarnation broke through the shackles and entered the order of the 9 continents. After forcefully tearing it apart, it kept expanding. Boom boom boom. A hollow passage appeared in the sky, directly avoiding the order of the 9 continents. Bang bang bang. Wanjun Buddha's Buddhist light soared into the sky, but he was forcefully pushed aside by the order of the 9 continents. He kept retreating, his face pale. Hurry up and go in. I'll pick you up here in a month. Wanjun Buddha roared anxiously. Swish swish swish. Swish swish swish. The 18 monks and the 4 tigers of the land of despair rushed into the reincarnation passage at the same time, avoiding the order of the 9 continents and entering the land of the 9 continents. Swish! Holy light soared into the sky, and chi soared into the clouds. 22 figures descended, and their auras were extraordinary. The 18 monks were enveloped in Buddhist light, and the 4 bandits were extremely fierce. Yi Qinghan and Lin Wuxian stood at the border of the Beast God Prefecture, stepping on the tail of the dragon vein. They looked at the 20 people in surprise and frowned. Fellow Taoists, why have you come to the land of the 9 continents? Amitba. This humble monk of the blessed Buddha temple is here on orders to capture a criminal. How should I address you? A monk put his palms together, and the majestic Buddhist light was convincing. Yi Qinghan looked at Lin Wuxian and signaled him not to speak. Then, he smiled and said, so you're a disciple of the blessed Buddha temple. Sorry for the disrespect, cut the crap. Which one of you is Yi Qinghan? Get the hell out here. Wang Shahu roared, and his voice reverberated through the clouds. He could actually forcefully harmonize with the heavenly Tao of the 9 continents, and his voice could be heard in every corner of the 9 continents. The divine bird's feathers trembled, and it rushed out of Yi Qinghan's bloodline and said excitedly, You're looking for Yi Qinghan. This thief has been abusing his power in the land of the 9 continents. Don't worry, this divine bird will bring you to him. Wang Shahu looked at the divine bird and was delighted. He directly ignored Yi Qinghan and gestured with his hand. What an obedient feathered beast. Why don't you give up the darkness and join me? The divine bird flew over in a flattering manner and replied with a wretched expression, Supreme Venerable One is indeed someone from the great world. Why don't you get rid of Yi Qinghan and take over the mountain? This divine bird will definitely be loyal to you and assist you. The corners of Lin Wuxian's mouth twitched. He was speechless. What was this divine bird trying to do? Cough, cough. This is my master. However, he is my predecessor. Since you're here, he is naturally not worthy of being my master. However, I can still make use of him. The divine bird pointed at Yi Qinghan and said to Wang Shahu in a wretched manner, Supreme Venerable, you can call him Little Huang. Although he is Yi Qinghan's subordinate, he was forced to do so. Why don't we make use of him to lure Yi Qinghan here and let you kill him? Wang Shahu nodded in satisfaction. He then turned to Yi Qinghan and said, Kid, follow me and I guarantee that no one in Eternal World will dare to bully you. Now that you've lured Yi Qinghan here, I'll give you credit for this. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and suppressed his emotions. The divine bird's plan was very simple. It did not want to make a big fuss. It just wanted to poison the monks and the 4 bandits to death. This was also good. At least it would reduce the number of casualties. He bowed and said, Supreme Venerables, please follow me into the sect to rest. I will inform Yi Qinghan to come and meet you. After saying that, Yi Qinghan led them into the sword sect. The monks were very cautious and did not touch a single drop of wine. However, the 4 tigers of despair could not hold back. They had been wanted for too long and could not even touch a woman. Now that they were in a small world, how could they not abuse their power? Yi Qinghan gestured for Lin Wuqian to satisfy the requests of the 4 tigers of despair one by one. Then, he brought over the bejeweled nectar and wine. More than 10 peerless beauties kept urging them to drink. The first batch of wine did not contain any poison. The more the 4 tigers of despair drank, the happier they became. Additionally, they were confident. There were also 18 monks present. They believed that Yi Qinghan would not dare to do anything to the wine. Thus, they drank heartily. Yi Qinghan released the insect queen mother. It slowly approached the 4 tigers of despair. Some of the poison entered the wine and entered the stomachs of the 4 tigers of despair, slowly eroding their hearts. Chapter 1654. After Yi Qinghan released the insect queen mother, the insect queen mother became as small as a feather. Part of it floated around the wine and divine fruits, while the other part attached itself to the beauties, silently invading the 4 experts. "Little monk, aren't you coming with us?" As the saying goes, wine and meat pass through the intestines, but the Buddha Lord's heart remains. Don't pretend to be so righteous outside. As an expert, who doesn't know that the monks of blessed Buddha temple are rotten to the core? From the Buddha Lord to the monks, they love wine, sex, politics, and money. Since you've entered this small territory, why don't you have some fun? I won't betray you, ha ha ha. Wang Shahu laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha. Qin Tianhu and the others also laughed. The 18 monks held their staffs. If they didn't need these 4 people, they would have started a massacre long ago. What? Is my big brother wrong? A bunch of trash wearing blessed Buddha's kasaya, doing the same things as us. At least we don't kill women and children, but you've driven the other races to the brink of extinction, slaughtering those who don't believe in you. Don't think that the world doesn't know how Luo territory was destroyed. No one knows better than you. 18 monks entered this small territory, slaughtered millions of lives, raped and pillaged. Why are you pretending to be righteous now? Wang Zanhu mocked. Don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, don't blame this little monk for being impolite. The leading monk scolded. Nonsense? Ha ha ha, my 3 brothers, he said, were talking nonsense. Wang Shahu sneered. TSK. Little Baldy, our wise Supreme Venerable appreciates you, so he gave you a sip of wine. How dare you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit? Who do you think you are? Why aren't you kneeling and kowtowing to our master? The divine bird stood out and scolded disdainfully. The 18 monks were furious, and their staffs were clenched so tightly that it made a soft hum. Wang Shahu felt that the divine bird was right. It had given him face, so he was very happy and gave the divine bird a spiritual fruit. The divine bird flattered. Those who were not familiar with it would think that it was really grateful and looked like a servile trader. However, those who really knew it would understand that it was just trying to drive a wedge between the 2 of them. Almighty Supreme Venerable One, these 18 baldies are really an eyesore. They're affecting the Supreme Venerable One's appetite. Why don't we get them out of here? The divine bird suggested in a wretched manner. Wang Shahu did not hesitate at all. He already hated the monks of blessed Buddha temple, so he impatiently waved his hand and scolded, "Get out. This hall is where my brother drinks. Don't be an eyesore." The murderous intent of the 18 Buddhist monks suddenly appeared, and they no longer pretended. The murderous intent on their bodies was no less than the murderous intent on Wang Shahu and the others. It could be inferred that the number of people these 18 Buddhist monks had killed was definitely a shocking number. Wang Shahu, you're going to take our break barrier pills. We're your employers now, so please be polite. The Buddhist monk suppressed his anger and murderous intent as he said coldly. Let's kill them and take all the credit. At the same time, we can rob them of all their wealth. The divine bird suggested. When the 4 tigers of despair heard this, they actually stood up with their weapons in their hands. Yi Qinghan stood outside the main hall of Sword Sect. At this moment, Lin Wuqian was evacuating the disciples of Sword Sect. Yan Ao and the others had already rushed over, leading their army to surround Sword Sect. The 22 sector lords retracted their auras. Yan Yunbei even concealed his figure and entered Sword Sect, looking for an opportunity to kill one or two enemies. Don't be in a hurry to attack. Let them fight among themselves first. Yi Qinghan indifferently transmitted his voice. As expected, the 4 Tigers of Despair actually started fighting with the 18 Buddhist monks. Sword Sect was razed to the ground, and the blood of the 4 Tigers of Despair was churning. The venomous parasites all became active. One of them was on the heart, but they did not attack. Thus, the 4 Tigers of Despair still did not know that they were poisoned. The insect queen mother borrowed the connection of her parasites and entered Wang Shahu's body, waiting for Yi Qinghan's orders. Sword Sect's palace collapsed, and the surroundings were razed to the ground. Only then did they realize that they were surrounded. Wang Shahu was stunned. When he looked for the divine bird again, it would have already escaped. Yi Qinghan stood in front of everyone. His divine robes were cold, and he had a smile on his face. He looked at the monks and the 4 Tigers of Despair with a smile that sent chills down their spines. So you are Yi Qinghan? Wang Shahu's face sank, and he coldly asked. Yes, I am Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan indifferently replied. You think you can kill us 4 Tigers of Despair with just this group of people? I'm afraid you can't even beat the 18 monks. Wang Shahu disdainfully mocked. Is that so? We can't beat the 18 monks, but don't we still have you 4 Dao friends? Yi Qinghan indifferently smiled. Then, his face sank as he ordered, you 4 kill the 18 monks, and I will spare your lives. Ha ha ha, Wang Shahu seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. The other 3 tigers also laughed madly. Pa! Yi Qinghan snapped his fingers, and the poisonous insects inside the 4 Tigers of Despair began to attack. They corroded the hearts of the 4 experts and took control of their bodies. Their hearts and bones were attacked at the same time. It was as if thousands of ants were gnawing at their hearts. They screamed in pain. Impossible. I am already immune to poison. Wang Shahu's face was pale as he roared at Yi Qinghan. What kind of poison did you use? Yi Qinghan smiled. He looked at the 18 monks and said indifferently, kill them, and I will spare your lives. If you can't kill them, you will be buried with them. Yi Qinghan merely waved his hand, and the 4 Tigers of Despair returned to their original state as if they had never been attacked. Do it. They can't escape within 100-mile radius. Wu stood at Yi Qinghan's command. A divine light shone brightly, covering a 100-mile radius of the Sword Sect's inner sect. With the support of 22 realm lords at the same time, the formation became a prison of heaven and earth. Without Yi Qinghan's permission, no one would be able to escape. Beads of cold sweat appeared on Wang Shahu, Wang Yuhu, and the others' foreheads. Little bastards, do you really think this divine bird has taken a liking to you? In terms of cultivation, my master can kill any one of the 22 of you with a single slap. In terms of appearance, the 22 of you combined can't compare to my master. He he he. The divine bird appeared on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and laughed vulgarly. Wang Shahu was furious, and his face was red. If he wasn't suppressed by the poisonous insects, he would have charged forward. But now, he could only glare at the divine bird. What are you looking at? Have you never seen such an arrogant divine bird? The divine bird bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Huff, huff, huff. The 18 monks and the 4 Tigers of Despair panted heavily. They were so angry that they felt dizzy. Let's begin. Yi Qinghan couldn't be bothered to listen to their nonsense and directly ordered. The 4 Tigers of Despair gritted their teeth and said coldly, if we kill them, can you give us the antidote? Sure. Kill! Boom! Screech. The 4 tigers of despair were ruthless. They drew their swords and attacked. The 4 of them were like wild tigers, and with lightning speed, they crushed the 18 monks. The monks were caught off guard and were sent flying. Pucci. Yan Yunbei seized the opportunity and used the short sword he had taken away to pierce the head of a monk. Even his soul was shattered, and turned into energy that was absorbed by the order of reincarnation. Chapter 1655. Whoosh! A cold light soared into the sky and blood dyed the 9 heavens red. Yan Yunbei's figure flashed and a monk's corpse fell. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 4 tigers of the land of despair were peerless experts in the land of despair. The 4 of them worked together seamlessly. One of the 18 monks was killed by Yan Yunbei and the formation collapsed. Boom! Hum. Just as the 17 monks were scattered, Yi Qinghan leaped up and condensed his energy into a blade. He transformed it into a berserk blade and slashed through the void. Pucci. Whoosh! Ah! A monk was shattered into pieces by Yi Qinghan's energy blade right in front of everyone's eyes. Moreover, it was in a face-to-face situation and he couldn't resist at all. Hiss hiss hiss. The 4 tigers of the land of despair were dumbfounded. They didn't expect their target to be so terrifying. The monk originally thought that Yi Qinghan wouldn't make a move. At this moment, he was so shocked that his face turned pale. Although the 4 tigers of the land of despair were shocked, they weren't muddle-headed. They took advantage of the situation and attacked the monk, heavily injuring him. Whoosh! 21 figures rushed out from the army. Their figures shifted and their blades flashed. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and slashed out again. The blade flashed through the sky like a star exploding. Boom boom boom. Bang bang bang. Yi Qinghan and the 21 Supreme Realm Lords worked together seamlessly. They were even stronger than the 4 tigers of the land of despair. In one move, they didn't give the remaining 16 monks any chance to escape. Pucci. Blood splashed across the mountains and rivers. The souls scattered and the monk's staff fell into the Sword Sex Valley. Whoosh! Yen Ao and the others retreated and returned to the front of the army. Their divine robes fluttered as they looked down at the 4 tigers of the land of despair. Their auras were definitely not ordinary experts. Each of them was handsome and valiant. The key point was that they were like a piece of metal without any flaws. Only now did the 4 tigers of the land of despair understand how stupid their actions were. Not to mention 12 boundary-breaking pills, even 100, 20, or 1,000 wouldn't be enough to kill this group of people. Gulp. Wang Shahu swallowed a mouthful of saliva as his burly body bowed deeply. He did not even dare to look at Yi Qinghan's calm and indifferent face. Wang Yuhu, Wang Sanghu, and Qing Tianhu's cultivation were not as high as Wang Shahu's, so they didn't dare to have any other thoughts. Who ordered you to kill me? Yi Qinghan stood at the highest peak, allowing the mountain wind to blow wildly. His hair fluttered in the wind as he looked down at the 4 people. His majestic voice was vast and mighty, suppressing the 4 tigers so much that they did not dare to have any thoughts of rebellion. Esteemed Lord. It's Wanjun Buddha from Blessed Buddha Temple. These 18 monks are his subordinates. Their strength is not bad. Wang Shaohu replied respectfully. Blessed Buddha Temple. Yi Qinghan clasped his hands behind his back, frowning at the sky. He had no grudges with Blessed Buddha Temple. Could it be that he was the one who touched the Blessed Buddha Pagoda? Or perhaps, the infernal realm had asked for help. Where is Wanjun Buddha? Yi Qinghan asked. Even if we joined forces, we could not enter. Thus, he could only use a shortcut. He utilized the Tao scripture of reincarnation to open up a passageway to send us in. 1 month later, he would bring us back. Who knew, esteemed Lord's strength would make us blush with shame. Forget the fact that you have so many subordinates. Even if you were alone, the 4 of us plus the 18 monks would not be a match for you. Wang Shahu was normally an arrogant person. However, before Yi Qinghan, he could no longer maintain his arrogance. In fact, he even felt inferior. It's good that you know. I had the divine bird Buji suppress the 4 of you only because I do not want to bring disaster to the citizens of the 9 provinces, Yi Qinghan replied coolly. Esteemed lord, we were just paid to do so. Please show mercy. Wang Shahu bowed and begged. Esteemed lord, please spare our lives. Although we are the 4 tigers of the land of despair and are wanted criminals of the eternal world, none of the people we kill are good people. The other 3 tigers hastily begged. I can spare your lives. However, you will stay here for now. I do not wish to expose my strength, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Thank you esteemed lord, thank you esteemed lord. I wonder if our poison. Wang Shahu's face was filled with joy as he probed. As long as you do not harbor any evil intentions, the poison is not a problem. You can do whatever you want in the land of the 9 provinces. However, in the land of the 9 provinces, do not commit crimes. Learn to be a normal good person, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The 4 tigers of the land of despair exhaled. Brothers and sisters, bring the corpses and weapons of the 18 monks back to their positions, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Wu Tian, rebuild the sword sect. All right. The 22 supreme world overlords cupped their fists and retreated with their troops. They moved extremely quickly, leaving behind 22 waves of fire in the sky as they left with their celestial troops. Yi Qinghan sat at the highest point of the dragon vein, side by side with the divine bird as he stared at the holy light. The divine bird was rarely so serious, but it looked somewhat ridiculous. Your star of misfortune has finally erupted. Ha ha ha, you have provoked the blessed Buddha temple this time. TSK, TSK, TSK. Next time, will an eternal appear and smash the land of the 9 provinces into smithereens? The divine bird asked disdainfully. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he said innocently, what does this have to do with me? I do not know the blessed Buddha temple at all. They came to me on their own accord. The divine bird turned and saw the 4 tigers of the land of despair standing at the foot of the mountain, not daring to leave. It said, ask these 4 fellows. Perhaps there will be some clues. Yi Qinghan looked at the 4 tigers and asked seriously, do you know why the blessed Buddha temple wants to kill me? The 4 tigers of the land of despair shook their heads. Wang Shahu quickly replied, esteemed lord, I did not ask. Even if I did, Wanjun Buddha would not tell me. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and said, go and play around in this world. Perhaps you will gain some insights. Many thanks, esteemed lord. All these years, we only know how to kill. Although our combat strength has increased, our mental state has not changed at all. Perhaps we can gain some insights from esteemed lord. Wang Shahu bowed and said. Yi Qinghan nodded. The 4 tigers left, but Yi Qinghan did not. This was because Wanjun Buddha would use the Tao scripture of reincarnation to open the passage a month later. If he did not see Wanjun Buddha, he would try to enter. Thus, he had to guard this place. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the dragon vein, allowing the mountain winds to wreak havoc. He sat there for an entire month, perfecting the world within his body. After more than 10,000 years of evolution, the wild martial great world had already formed a complete reincarnation system. However, the people here did not have a cultivation system, or it could be said that they did not know how to use the world's spiritual energy. Only some animals and plants could absorb the world's spiritual energy to form monsters. Yi Qinghan did not interfere with the world's development. He only occasionally performed miracles to enlighten some people with great wisdom, allowing them to comprehend cultivation methods. Several years later, some weak cultivators would appear. Although they couldn't fly in the sky or burrow into the ground, they could still make the humans here revere them as if they were gods. Although those people from the 9 continents who entered Yi Qinghan's wild martial world had profound cultivation bases, Yi Qinghan imprisoned them in a sacred region. They could choose to leave the wild martial world, but they couldn't interfere with the wild martial world. Their existence was a mystery to the humans of the world. Chapter 1656. Yi Qinghan sat at the end of the dragon vein and waited for a month. Time flew, and a month passed. The holy light distorted, and a deep passageway appeared in front of him. Whoosh! Whoosh! The reincarnation passageway was a shortcut. Unfortunately, nothing could be taken away. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and sent out a thought to enter the eternal world through the passageway. In the land of despair, Wanjun Buddha saw a light screen in the sky. Divine light flashed on the screen, and a few words appeared. His expression changed drastically. I have no grudge against the blessed Buddha temple. As a monk, I should cultivate in seclusion to deliver the people from suffering. Taoist Wanjun, aren't you losing your mind by meddling in the affairs of the mortal world? The words didn't disappear for a long time, as if they were imprinted in the sky. Wanjun Buddha's expression changed, and his killing intent soared to the sky. Not only did he fail to complete his mission, but he also lost 18 of his subordinates. Yi Qinghan, what a powerful man! Wanjun Buddha held a Buddhist seal and glared at the land of the 9 prefectures. Then, he turned and left. 1 month later, Wanjun Buddha returned to his temple with a furious expression. Yun Tian exalted immediately came out to greet him. Judging from his expression, he knew that the mission had failed. Who is this Yi Qinghan? The 4 tigers of the land of despair and the 18 monks couldn't even fight back against him. What are you hiding? Wanjun Buddha asked in a deep voice. Yun Tian exalted frowned and said coldly, I didn't hide anything. Also, I told you in advance that you shouldn't underestimate this man. We are just cooperating. You take the reincarnation fruit, and I take the soul. Now that you have failed the mission, you want to bite back. Amitabha. I don't blame you. I underestimated him. Wanjun Buddha took a deep breath. He knew that it would be difficult to get the reincarnation fruit. Yun Tian Exalted's eyes flashed coldly. If he didn't kill Yi Qinghan, he wouldn't be able to complete his mission. He gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, since this man is so difficult to deal with, why don't we join hands and recruit some bandits from the land of despair and force our way into the 9 worlds? All right. I have suffered heavy losses this time. If I don't kill Yi Qinghan, it will be difficult for me to get rid of the hatred in my heart. Wanjun Buddha no longer pretended. His cold killing intent was even more vicious than that of a mortal. Wanjun Buddha and Cloud Sky Exalted Holiness joined forces to change the order and bring their bodies into the land of the 9 states to capture Yi Qinghan. In the land of despair, there were many experts, and all of them were extremely ferocious. At this moment, the 2 of them had spent a lot of money to recruit experts. In the land of the 9 provinces, Yi Qinghan still hadn't left the sword sect. He stood at the end of the dragon vein and looked around, thinking of a way to resolve this crisis. But what he didn't know was that the one who had given the order to capture him was none other than an eternal one. How many eternal sovereigns could there be? In all of eternal world, there were only a handful of such existences. Not to mention, this was the Lord of Hell, an eternal one of hell. Rather than sit here and wait for death, why don't we enter eternal world and fight them, the divine bird suggested viciously. Yi Qinghan shook his head and muttered expressionlessly, no, if we kill them all, wouldn't that infuriate the eternal one? Even if I combine all the 9 worlds together, I still won't be a match for such an existence. Then what should we do? We can't keep wasting time like this, right? The divine bird sighed. It really didn't want to be suppressed by others. Time is meaningless to us. As long as we don't get killed, we still have endless years. Why bother with them? Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. Perhaps. The divine bird flapped its wings and lay on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, sleeping leisurely. At this moment, Yi Qinghan stepped into the holy light and allowed the lightning to strike him. Countless lightning bolts were even more terrifying, and the lightning tribulation of Divine Lord Righteous Sky and Cloud Sky exalted holiness. The explosions caused dust to fly all around and covered space. But Yi Qinghan allowed the lightning to strike his body. The divine bird was so scared that it rushed into the bloodline. It was scared silly by this terrifying lightning tribulation. Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered and his black robe was torn apart by the hurricane. After one jaw stick's worth of time, the lightning tribulation automatically dispersed. Yi Qinghan brushed away the filth on his body and allowed the holy light to envelop him. His body felt warm and his fleshly body had become slightly stronger. At this point, even a slight increase in strength was a huge improvement. Hua! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and he entered the land of despair. Thick spiritual energy covered the sky and covered the earth. Tall mountains and precipitous ridges were incomparably thick. Endless mountains and rivers. The gravity and order here were completely different from the 9 provinces. Even an expert at his level couldn't fly here. Order. It was completely under the control of an eternal being. Flying, apart from birds with extraordinary talents, was a privilege reserved for eternal beings. Only by controlling the order of eternal world could one become a true god, overlooking and controlling all living beings. Yi Qinghan strolled through the mountains and rivers. His divine sense covered a distance of 500 kilometers. But for such mountains and rivers, what was the difference between 500 kilometers and a grain of sand in the ocean? Damn, this is eternal world. The divine bird rushed out, its eyes almost popping out. Hiss hiss hiss. Yi Qinghan and the divine bird inhaled a mouthful of eternal world's air at the same time. They relaxed and sighed. The air here is so beautiful. Let's fight for territory. The divine bird suggested excitedly. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and snorted. Humph, you can't even protect yourself and you still want to fight for territory? You sure have a big heart. The divine bird flapped its wings and its eyes gleamed. It was drooling as it found treasures everywhere. However, Yi Qinghan didn't come here to look for treasures. I'm here to see if this is hell. I'll ask the people of Blessed Buddha Temple to help and find a solution. As for those treasures, we'll talk about them later. They won't be able to escape, Yi Qinghan calmly reminded. After saying that, Yi Qinghan walked towards the central area of the land of despair. Along the way, many experts and villains rushed towards the central area. They seemed to have a common goal. Yi Qinghan hid in the dark and listened to their discussions. Blessed Buddha Temple is really going all out this time. Resources, pills, secret arts, divine abilities, weapons, they're all free to choose. I wonder what they're going to do. I reckon it's going to be an extremely dangerous operation. Otherwise, they wouldn't give us the benefits. Horses won't get fat if they don't feed at night. Who cares? We're people who've licked blood from blades. What danger is there to be afraid of? Let's go to the central area and see the 10,000 June Buddha first. There were about 7 to 8 people in the group. They should be from some organization. They were all dressed similarly and looked very fierce. The weakest of them was at the initial stage of Sector Lord and there were 2 at the advanced stage. Such existences would be overlords in the land of the 9 provinces. But now, they were actually forced into a dangerous place like the land of despair. Yi Qinghan silently tailed this group of people. He was extremely careful and those villains didn't notice him. A few days later, they arrived at the central area of the land of despair. They discovered that in the center of a valley, 10,000 June Buddha and Cloud Sky Exalted were recruiting people. There were many experts gathered around them and they were all at the peak level. They didn't need rookies at the pseudo-sector lord level. A large group of pseudo-sector lords shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan hid in the distance and looked at the two people in the center of the valley. He didn't recognize Cloud Sky Exalted and 10,000 June Buddha. However, 10,000 June Buddha had a fat head and big ears. He was wearing a kasaya and was obviously from the blessed Buddha temple. With such a high cultivation, he was definitely 10,000 June Buddha. On the other hand, Cloud Sky Exalted had the aura of hell. Chapter 1657. Tall mountains and steep ridges, ancient trees and thistles. Yi Qinghan was hiding beside a waterfall at the top of a mountain. He was only 60 meters away from the valley and could see everything clearly. The valley wasn't big but there were around 300 to 500 people. There were still many people rushing over. Most of the fake realm lords stayed at the periphery. Only the leaders of some teams were standing in the valley. Wanjun Buddha had a kind and benevolent expression, giving people the feeling that he was going to save the world. He was sitting on a huge rock with his palms together. He didn't have much reaction to the appearance of the villains. Everyone, calm down. When everyone is gathered, I will tell you all at once. This time, it's not dangerous. However, if you are going to the small region, the rewards I will give you will not disappoint. Wanjun Buddha's voice was deep and resounding. What kind of mission is it? Don't tell me you are still going to the 9 worlds. Where are the 4 tigers of the land of despair and the 18 monks beside you? Did the mission fail? It seems like this mission isn't without danger, it's extremely dangerous. At this moment, a burly man walked out. He had a ferocious face and a murderous aura. It was Wang Yanzhang. This person knew that Wanjun Buddha had brought people to carry out a mission. Hence, he told the truth. On one hand, he wanted to raise the price. On the other hand, he wanted the weak to scram. Wanjun Buddha raised his head slightly and looked at Wang Yanzhang. He looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the Realm Lord realm. He was 1 level stronger than Wang Shahu. It was impossible for him to not know such an expert. So it's Dao friend Wang. I didn't expect you to be able to escape to the land of despair after offending so many powers. I am impressed. Wanjun Buddha smiled. Wang Yanzhang didn't give him any face and said coldly, "Stop talking nonsense. There are many experts here. Any mission can be completed. Let's get straight to the point. What kind of mission are you carrying out? The person beside you has the aura of death. Who is he?" "I am the Reincarnation City Lord of Hell's 17th District, Yun Tian. Greetings, fellow Taoists. I am under orders to capture a bastard who is tampering with the order of reincarnation. However, he is hiding in the land of sinners and is guarded by the 9 cauldrons heaven sealing formation. It is very difficult to enter the 9 worlds from hell. Hence, I beg Wanjun Buddha and fellow Taoists to help me. As long as you can capture Yi Qinghan's soul, I will give you 2 realm-breaking pills and a secret art." "I will remember this favor," Cloud Sky High Venerable said in a deep voice. Hiss hiss hiss. Hell Samsara City Lord, and he was from the 17th district. Many of the villains sucked in a breath of cold air. Such an existence might not have the highest cultivation, but their status was transcendent. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't die? If he received this favor, even if he couldn't enter the riches and honor reincarnation pool in the future, it was still possible for him to enter a good reincarnation pool as a complete soul body. Ha, so it's High Venerable Cloud Sky from the 17th district. I've heard a lot about you. I'm Wang Yanzhang, and people call me the Soul Slayer. We're family. Wang Yanzhang laughed. The Cloud Sky High Holiness laughed in agreement. Since he was in the mortal world, he had to show some respect to these murderous people. Taoist Wang, that's a good nickname. Now that you mention it, we are indeed family, Cloud Sky High Holiness said with a smile. Greetings, Cloud Sky Exalted. The nearby villains and bandits all cupped their fists in salute. If they could avoid offending someone from hell, they definitely couldn't. Yi Qinghan hid behind an ancient tree and looked at the valley. He looked at the group of villains and estimated their strength. He roughly knew that there were 7 to 8 people in this group who could threaten him. Wang Jun Buddha and Cloud Sky High Holiness were definitely included. Wang Yanzhang's aura was restrained, and his combat strength was definitely not just at the peak of the World Overlord realm. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he stared at 3 people standing at the side of the valley. The 3 of them were wearing bamboo hats and had been standing there with their arms crossed. They didn't even greet Cloud Sky High Holiness. Their bodies were emitting a terrifying aura. The 3 of them were strong opponents. The other 2 were hiding in the crowd. Their cultivation bases were extremely terrifying. Yi Qinghan knew that he wasn't a match for the 8 of them. He prepared to retreat quietly. But at this moment, a figure flew past above his head. They were the villains who came from afar to accept a mission. They accidentally discovered Yi Qinghan. Since you are here, why are you hiding? We are all here to accept a mission. Why are you hiding? The person who came was a one-armed man. There was a 7 to 8-year-old girl beside him. He was standing on a small hill to the left of Yi Qinghan. He raised his head and questioned coldly. Swish. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan. Their gazes met, and their aura surged. Cloud Sky High Holiness's eyes flashed coldly. He raised the corner of his lips and said coldly, Yi Qinghan. There is a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell, but you insist on coming. Swish. Everyone was in an uproar. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to come to Eternal World from the 9 Worlds Heaven while they were trying to recruit him. Yi Qinghan frowned. He walked out from behind the ancient tree and looked at the one-armed man coldly. Killing intent flashed across his eyes. It's really you. I didn't expect your cultivation to be so strong. You have been here for so long, but I didn't notice you at all. Cloud Sky High Holiness said coldly. Swish. Everyone's figures flashed. Although they couldn't fly, they could cover more than 10 zhang in a single leap. They stood on top of the mountains and suppressed Yi Qinghan in this area. The one-armed man didn't expect his unintentional action to expose his target. He immediately carried the little girl on his back and tied her up with an iron chain. Then, he pulled out a huge sword and looked at Yi Qinghan coldly. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and jumped down from the cliff that was several zhang high. He stepped on the waterfall and stood on top of a small mountain. He ignored the others and said to Cloud Sky High Holiness, it was just an unintentional action. Why do you have to keep pestering me? Humph. I didn't give the order this time. It was given by the Great Eternal One. Do you want to go to hell with me, or do you want me to shatter your body and bring your soul back for punishment? Cloud Sky High Holiness snorted coldly. What about you guys? We don't have any grudges against each other. Why do you have to interfere in this matter? Yi Qinghan glanced at the crowd and asked calmly. Yi Qinghan. Since I've taken their money, I'll have to take care of their problems. So, he is just a young man. You guys don't have to do anything to him. I will accept this mission, Wang Yanzhang said coldly. The crowd didn't stop him. Some didn't dare to oppose Wang Yanzhang, but some were smart enough to know that Wang Yanzhang alone wouldn't be able to deal with someone who could make Wanjun Buddha and Cloud Sky High Holiness gather so many people. Therefore, they were smart enough to wait and see. Boom! Wang Yanzhang's hands turned black. He grabbed the rocks around him and shattered them. Then, he twisted his foot and broke through the shackles. Then, he charged toward Yi Qinghan with his soul-snatching claws as if he was flying. Sigh, Yi Qinghan sighed slightly. He looked at Wang Yanzhang coldly and raised his hand. Then, he grasped at Wang Yanzhang's soul-snatching claws. Chapter 1658. Wang Yanzhang's soul-chasing palm exuded black energy. His fingernails pierced through space and arrived before Yi Qinghan. In the face of Wang Yanzhang's famous ultimate move, even Buddha Wanjun and the others felt the need to avoid it. However, when they saw Yi Qinghan raise his hand to grab the pair of sharp claws, their eyes widened. Bang! Gotcha! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed Wang Yanzhang's sharp claws. Surprisingly, he managed to break Wang Yanzhang's sharp claws. With a backhand, he pressed Wang Yanzhang down and forced him to kneel before him. Boom! Yi Qinghan pressed his wrist down and his elbow smashed towards Wang Yanzhang's head. He restrained Wang Yanzhang, making him unable to move. In terms of fleshly body, those below the eternal realm who could defeat Yi Qinghan might be talented existences. However, they were definitely not Wang Yanzhang. Hiss! Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Wang Yanzhang was a famous expert. Even his famous ultimate move could not stop Yi Qinghan's casual attack. I have no enmity with eternal world. I hope you fellows will not lose your mind for the sake of benefits and make things difficult for me. Yi Qinghan pressed Wang Yanzhang down. He did not kill him. Instead, he calmly reminded him. The one-armed man's pupils shrunk. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so strong. Now that he had exposed his identity, this enmity would most likely be formed. Bang! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and flung Wang Yanzhang away. He stared at the crowd and warned in a deep voice, I don't cause trouble, but I'm absolutely not afraid of it. Listen to my advice and leave this place. The grudge between me and the infernal realm will be resolved by us. If you dare to interfere, I guarantee that no more than 5 of you will be able to leave alive. Yi Qinghan raised his palm and clenched it tightly. His might was terrifying. Arrogant. Do you know how many overlords are here? Which one of them did not offend a superpower and hide here? A hot-tempered man immediately stood out and rebuked. Yi Qinghan calmly glanced at him. His cultivation base wasn't bad, but he still didn't place him in his eyes. There was a difference between the peak of the World Overlord realm and the initial stage of the World Overlord realm. For someone like you, it's not a problem for me to take on hundreds of you alone, Yi Qinghan replied coldly. You. The burly man was furious, but seeing that the others didn't show any signs of attacking, he didn't dare to take a step forward. Staring at Yi Qinghan, Cloudy Sky High Holiness reminded him in a cold voice, Yi Qinghan, I don't care how powerful your cultivation base is. However, the one who wants to take your life is not me, but the Eternal Sovereign. If I don't take you back this time, I'm afraid that the Eternal Sovereign will take action. You won't be the only one who will suffer. All the experts of your 9 worlds heavens will be implicated. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He snorted, if an Eternal Sovereign takes action for an ant, wouldn't he be laughed at by the world? This was the truth. It wasn't that the Eternal Sovereigns didn't know that those wanted criminals were in the absolute domain. It was just that no one came to capture them. No matter how great the hatred was, they wouldn't take action personally because they were lofty existences. Since the Supreme Eternal Sovereigns aren't willing to take action, I will take action today. Do you think you can escape from here today? Cloudy Sky High Holiness's lips curled up. He waved his hand towards the crowd and said, fellow Taoists, you don't have to take action today. As long as you imprison him here and don't let him escape, I will owe you a favor. To put it bluntly, if I have the chance to meet you in hell, I will definitely repay this favor. Most of the experts took action and joined forces to encircle the valley. Heaven imprisoning formation. Yi Qinghan was paying attention to the 8 experts and the one-armed man who appeared at the end. Other than Wang Yanzhang, the others didn't take action. Wanjun Buddha's face was filled with killing intent. He stared at Yi Qinghan and asked gloomily, "Where are the 18 monks under my command? Did you kill the 4 tigers of the absolute domain?" Yi Qinghan warned in a cold voice, "Blessed Buddha Temple is a colossus that I didn't want to provoke. However, you came to provoke me. The Buddha Lord shouldn't put the blame on me for this. They died because of you, Wanjun Buddha. If you are really a monk, you should save all living beings from suffering. You shouldn't start a massacre for the sake of worldly affairs. It won't do you any good to deal with me. If that's the case, then let's cut the crap." Cloudy Sky High Holiness and Wanjun Buddha looked at each other and said, "Buddha, let's join forces and take him down. I won't go back on my words. Amitabha. Then this little monk will save all living beings from suffering and convert this evil creature." Hua. Wanjun Buddha opened his mouth. His Sanskrit chants pierced through one's soul, causing one to feel drowsy. Amitabha. His voice was mighty, but it was only targeted at Yi Qinghan. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan's eyes were as clear as water. He had even experienced the deadly Sanskrit chants in the boundary pagoda. How could he be afraid of Wanjun Buddha's chants? Swish. Cloudy Sky High Holiness waved his hand and summoned the Mirror of Rebirth. As long as one was bound by the light of the Mirror of Rebirth, they would definitely enter the cycle of reincarnation. There was nowhere to hide. Yi Qinghan was most wary of reincarnation, High Holiness. In terms of cultivation, they were on par. In addition, this underworld artifact was hard to defend against. At this moment, he was very cautious and looked around for a way to escape. You won't be able to escape today. Reincarnation. Swish. The light of reincarnation suddenly shot out. Anyone who came in contact with it would die and take away all life. However, it was controlled very carefully and wouldn't harm the overlords outside the array. Boom! Wanjun Buddha held the Buddha's staff and smashed it toward Yi Qinghan. Swish! Boundless heaven and earth, yin-yang borrowing power. Divine light shot out from the yin-yang mystic record to resist the rebirth mirror. Yi Qinghan slashed his palm toward Wanjun Buddha. Boom! 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 The 3 of them fought crazily in the array. Although they couldn't fly or burrow into the ground, the mountain rocks were broken by the 3 of them. Yi Qinghan was fighting against 2 at the same time. He was extremely fast. He punched Yuntian High Holiness and kicked Wanjun Buddha. His rebirth mirror was suppressed by the yin-yang mystic record and couldn't resist at all. So you're a bastard from the yin-yang mystic race. Knowing the law and breaking it, you'll be punished even more. Wait for your death. Yuntian High Holiness formed a seal with his palms. The horrifying aura of death and reincarnation spread out and shrouded the valley. It was incompatible with the Buddha's chants, but it carried a destructive aura that made people tremble in fear. Heavenly Dragon Tail Whip. Roar! Roar! Yi Qinghan let out a dragon roar. He swept his long legs and kicked Wanjun Buddha. His aura shook the sky. Boom! 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 This kick landed on Wanjun Buddha's staff. His strength was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. Wanjun Buddha was pushed back, and the mountain rocks under his feet were crushed. Yi Qinghan borrowed the force and flew backward. He attacked Yuntian High Holiness with the power of yin and yang. Boom! 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 Yi Qinghan's palm seals kept changing. His body was like a heavenly dragon coiling around silk. It was as if he was teleporting. The experts outside could only see a faint shadow flashing by. Yi Qinghan's real body was nowhere to be seen. Boom! Just as Yuntian High Holiness was searching for Yi Qinghan, a deafening clap came from behind him. He was so frightened that he quickly recalled his rebirth mirror and counterattacked. Boom! Unfortunately, at this moment, Yi Qinghan attacked from his left and slammed his palm into the left side of his waist, breaking several of his ribs. Chapter 1659. Among the hundreds of experts, Yi Qinghan noticed 8 of them. Other than Cloud Sky Exalted and Buddha who were fighting to the death, the other 6 and the one-armed man were standing far away. Their eyes flickered with astonishment. They didn't expect that there would be such a powerful sector lord in this small place. The corner of the one-armed man's mouth twitched. He slowly took a step back with the little girl on his back. 10th uncle, this person is very strong. We have offended him. The 8-year-old girl said worriedly. Sigh, it's all my fault. I was too impatient and wanted to help you fight for some resources. Lin Shui, if we really fight with him later, you should take the opportunity to leave this region. Run as far as you can. I might not be his match. The one-armed man said in a deep voice. After speaking, he placed the little girl on the ground. However, the little girl's expression didn't change. She didn't panic at all. Seeing how powerful Yi Qinghan was, the one-armed man actually said that he might not be his match. One could see how terrifying his cultivation base was. As for the little girl, her strength couldn't be underestimated either. On the surface, she looked like a giant god. But in fact, there was a destructive power hidden in her body. As long as she unleashed it, even a high-level sector lord would be instantly killed. At the same time, the 3 black-robed men with bamboo hats were leaning against the stone wall. Their expressions couldn't be seen, but their eyes were exceptionally bright and deep. Boss Yu, should we make a move? One of the black-robed men asked in a low voice. Wait. This person isn't at a disadvantage even when fighting 1 against 2. It seems like he is still hiding part of his strength. It's best not to provoke such a person. But if there's a chance, kill him immediately. Maybe his life can help us exchange for the things we need. The black-robed man in the middle said indifferently. The 3 of them were at the peak of the sector lord realm. Moreover, they had advanced for many years. The 3 of them had killed countless people and were famous for being ruthless bandits. They specifically targeted the rich and powerful clans and robbed hundreds of clans. Now that they were still safe and sound, one could see their strength. The 2 peak experts hidden in the crowd were lone rangers. They had always been alone and didn't trust anyone. At this moment, they were hesitating whether to make a move or not because Yi Qinghan's performance was too shocking. Boom! Yi Qinghan sent Buddha flying with a palm strike. With the yin-yang record in his hand, Cloud Sky Exalted Paragon was forced to retreat. Swish! Swish! Everywhere it passed, everything was shattered into dust. Even the heaven prison enchantment formed by hundreds of sector lords trembled from the impact. Amitba! Vile spawn, today, this Buddha will borrow the power of the Buddha Lord to kill you. Whoosh! The Wanjun Buddha was burning with anger. His fat head and big ears were flushed red. His palms continuously formed seals, and Buddhist light soared into the sky. However, the Buddhist light carried a murderous aura, which was even more shocking. A beam of Buddhist light appeared at the peak of the heavens, bathing the Buddha in it, causing his aura to suddenly rise. He quickly rushed into the void and actually flew up. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. An afterimage of a Buddha appeared in the sky and merged with the Buddha. Great Buddha hand. Boom! The Buddha raised his hand, and the Buddha's afterimage also raised his hand. Suddenly, it pressed down like a giant hand that covered the sky. It brought the order of all things to bind Yi Qinghan. It was as if the Buddha Lord had personally arrived, making it impossible for him to resist. He didn't even have the will to resist. Blessed Buddha Temple's Top 10 Buddhist Arts. The 6th ranked Buddhist art, I heard that it was personally created by the Buddha Lord. It's boundless power, but to a sector lord, it's a forbidden art. Who would have thought that Yi Ching Han would actually make the Buddha use a forbidden art? This Yi Ching Han is truly terrifying. No wonder the Eternal of Hell personally issued an order to capture him. This wanted order is even more terrifying than ours. Everyone was in an uproar as they discussed. Whoosh! Yi Ching Han used stellar transposition and dodged in the valley. However, he couldn't escape from the great Buddha hand's restraint. He could only resist it head-on. Boom! Boom! Yi Ching Han's eyes flashed coldly. His palms formed seals continuously, and his legs opened slightly. His palms shot up to the sky, wanting to overturn the heavens. Heaven flipping palm. Boom! Yi Ching Han's veins bulged, and a dragon-shaped afterimage surrounded his golden body. His entire body's strength poured out, shaking the heavens and earth. The solemn and stirring rhythm reverberated in all directions, causing everyone's blood to boil. Bang! The great Buddha hand of one of the top 10 Buddhist arts clashed with Yi Ching Han's peak attack. The two palms clashed against the great Buddha hand. Qi rushed to the heavens, and the shockwave was equivalent to their combined attack. It scattered the array outside, and a light beam shot out in all directions. Boom! Boom! Ka ka ka! The mountain rocks beneath Yi Ching Han's feet crumbled, and he was directly smashed into the ground, burying himself up to his knees. However, the great Buddha hand was actually pierced through, and the heaven-flipping palm struck the Buddha's body. Boom! Bang! The heaven-flipping palm imprint blasted onto the palms of Wanjun Buddha's true body. The Buddha shadow behind him was shattered, and Wanjun Buddha let out a miserable shriek as he was sent flying. Impossible! The Buddha roared, and his face was filled with unwillingness. Hua! Zeng zeng zeng! Yi Ching Han's physical body was sent flying, and his legs were pulled out from the ground. Step by step, he left behind footprints. His face was pale, and his body was bleeding. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He knew his own cultivation. If it wasn't for Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable, he could definitely kill the Buddha with 10 peak attacks. However, he was defeated by the great Buddha hand. It was obvious that the great Buddha hand could instantly increase the Buddha's strength by 100 times. Bang! Yi Ching Han pressed his palm on a huge rock, leaving a 5-finger imprint on the huge rock. Only then did his physical body stabilize. He held the Yin-Yang mystic record in his hand and stared at the restless crowd. Puff. His blood was boiling, and he couldn't control it well. He spat it out, and his internal organs were almost displaced. Phew. Yi Ching Han heaved a sigh of relief. The Buddha didn't suffer any serious injuries, but the Buddha energy in his body was scattered, and he was at the end of his rope. Swish! The Buddha took out a great Buddha elixir and swallowed it. His cultivation recovered rapidly. Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable took advantage of Yi Ching Han spitting out blood. The rebirth mirror released the heaven-devouring light and charged toward Yi Ching Han. Go! Yi Ching Han stretched out his hand and blocked the Yin-Yang mystic record. The divine light and the rebirth mirror clashed, and the momentum was terrifying. We can't delay any longer. If you get injured again, the others won't hold back anymore. The divine bird looked at the surrounding crowd and reminded him. Heaven and earth are limitless, and yin and yang are the law. 1 controls heaven and earth, 2 controls yin and yang, and 3 controls everything. Yi Ching Han's eyes flashed coldly as he formed seals with his palms faster and faster. He instantly unleashed his strongest combat strength, and countless runes turned into divine weapons that attacked in all directions. Swish! 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 Bang! 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 Tens of thousands of divine weapons attacked the crowd. They were extremely sharp, and they killed without leaving a trace. This move instantly sucked away 2/3 of Yi Qinghan's energy, and the surrounding experts were caught off guard. Many experts were penetrated by the energy, and they suffered heavy casualties. The two strongest attacks landed on the Buddha and Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable, and they were sent flying again. Swish! Yi Qinghan turned around and left. He crushed the mountain rocks with a single step, and his figure shot into the distance like an arrow. At this moment, the three black-clothed men, Wang Yanzhang, and a few others who were hiding in the crowd all rushed out. Their sword auras were like rainbows as they approached Yi Qinghan's back. Chapter 1660. Those experts were not the only ones who made a move. There were also many realm lords who wanted to take advantage of the situation to capture Yi Qinghan. Swoosh! Swoosh! Yi Qinghan shuttled through the wilderness and quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. A large number of experts chased after him from all directions. Even pseudo-world overlords joined in. In this vast eternal world, order was strict. Even world overlords couldn't overturn the heavens or fly. Their divine senses couldn't cover too far. At this moment, the human wave tactic was effective. 10th uncle, what should we do? The little girl looked up at the one-armed man and asked. The one-armed man's face was solemn. He held the short knife and looked into the distance. He said in a deep voice, let's follow him and take a look. Remember, no matter if I'm by your side or not, you can't expose your identity. From now on, you will be called Lin Shui. Don't tell anyone where you are from. 10th uncle, I understand. The little girl was very obedient and nodded. In the depths of the desolate region, Yi Qinghan was running aimlessly. At this moment, the energy in his body was almost exhausted. He had less than a third of it left. He couldn't fight against those people and could only run as far as he could. Swoosh! Swoosh! Yi Qinghan was panting heavily as he ran between the ravines. He relied on the thistles and thorns to hide his figure. Not only did he have to hide from people, he also had to hide from the birds in the sky and the beasts on the ground. In order to avoid people, he had no choice but to take risks. He purposely went through dangerous places and cliffs. The desolate region was mobilized and enemies were everywhere. In order to kill Yi Qinghan, Cloud Sky Venerable and Wanjun Buddha promised that anyone who found Yi Qinghan would get a Buddha heart pellet. If they killed Yi Qinghan, the pellet would be given 10 times the price. They also promised to use secret techniques and divine abilities, which were all top-notch divine abilities in the great world. This is my only chance to kill him. If I miss this chance, I can only let the eternal sovereigns do it themselves. Moreover, Yi Qinghan has committed an unforgivable crime. If he isn't killed, the order of hell will be challenged. Thus, the eternal sovereigns will definitely take action. If an eternal sovereign takes action against a junior, he will definitely be laughed at by the other eternal sovereigns. The eternal sovereigns of hell are very prideful and will kill me to vent their anger. As Cloud Sky Venerable thought, cold sweat dripped down his body. The ferocious light in his eyes. The rebirth mirror in his hand. Swoosh! Swoosh! A bird in the sky released a long cry that was extremely mournful. A few individuals with exceptional talent could control birds, rushing into the clouds and overlooking the great earth of the great region, continuously searching. He is in the western region. I found him. Swoosh! Suddenly, a roar came from the sky. A powerful cultivator stood on top of a bird and stared at Yi Qinghan's back. Yi Qinghan's back was too arrogant, and his aura was powerful. The sound of something tearing through the air was enough to make one's soul tremble. A single stone unexpectedly drew out flames, and it was even more powerful than a divine arrow. It pierced through the bird's wings. Screech! Swoosh! The swoosh! The swoosh! 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 The swoosh. The swoosh. The swoosh. The swoosh. 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 Yi Qinghan took advantage of the opportunity to dodge and began to run madly. His speed was as fast as lightning and ferocious as a tiger. Every time he covered a distance of several hundred feet, he flashed across the air above the cliff and rushed from one mountain to another. Swoosh. 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 Yi Qinghan. Swoosh. 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 Yi Qinghan was panting heavily. His face was flushed. He leaned against a rock and covered himself with grass. There was even a tree branch on his back. The tree branch was so dense that it hid him from the swoosh. Do you know where we are? How much longer until we reach the entrance of the 9 prefectures? Yi Qinghan asked as he panted heavily. The divine bird flew over and surveyed the surroundings. Soon, it returned to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It frowned and said, "With our current speed, we still have to avoid being tracked by the swoosh. It will take at least a month to reach the entrance. Damn it. I don't have any strength left. I need to rest. Help me guard the entrance," Yi Qinghan said tiredly. The divine bird had no choice but to agree. It cautiously flew over the high ground and helped to stand guard. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the spiritual energy in the world. His body was like a vast ocean. The spiritual energy in the world poured into his body, but he was like a bottomless pit. Without special treasures, it would be difficult for him to recover his strength in a short period of time, let alone restore his divine power to its peak state. Half a day later, he recovered 30% of his strength. He also recovered a lot of his energy. The sky was already dark. Logically speaking, the night was the safest time. However, the divine bird rushed down from the high ground and said, "Quickly get up and move. That one-armed old bastard is coming again." Yi Qinghan frowned and spread out his divine sense. His divine sense was much stronger than others. 10 li away, he saw the one-armed man and the little girl dodging in all directions. It was as if they were also fleeing for their lives. They were getting closer and closer. 10 li was nothing to the one-armed man. In 3 breaths of time, they were within 10 li. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment. He was already less than 1 li away from this place. Shoo. The man didn't seem to release his divine sense. He cautiously brought the little girl and headed east. Occasionally, he would grab some spiritual fruits for the little girl. His target didn't seem to be Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan lay on the ground and used a rock to hide himself. He wasn't prepared to escape. Instead, he hoped to avoid the one-armed man and let him leave with the little girl first. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. Yi Qinghan had restrained his aura. Even if he released his divine sense, he might not be able to discover him. Why is this guy getting closer and closer? The divine bird anxiously transmitted. It doesn't matter. They are very fast. They should be able to avoid us. Yi Qinghan continued hiding behind the rock. He even stopped breathing. At that moment, a clear voice sounded. "10th uncle, I want to rest for a while." The little girl panted in shorts. Her arms were exposed. Her clothes were very simple. She didn't look like a princess of a large family clan. "All right. There is a rock over there. Go sit there for a while. 10th uncle will get you some water and spiritual fruits." The one-armed man replied dotingly. Yi Qinghan's eyes twitched. This was too much of a coincidence. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. He sensed the little girl sitting on the rock. As long as she turned her head, she would be able to see him. Now, if he moved, even the little girl would be able to detect him, let alone the man. Damn! You guys are like ghosts. Do we owe you anything? The divine bird couldn't help but roar. The little girl was curiously looking down at the tree branch and the divine bird on Yi Qinghan's back. The divine bird saw her looking at it and immediately questioned her angrily. Whoosh! The little girl immediately jumped down from the rock and hid in a safe spot. She held something that looked like a chessboard in her hand and stared at Yi Qinghan and the divine bird. Yi Qinghan slowly stood up and patted his butt. He sat on the rock and stared at the one-armed man and the little girl. The corner of his mouth kept twitching. The man was also shocked. He didn't expect to meet Yi Qinghan here. He pulled the little girl behind him warily and said, "Lin Shui, run quickly. Run into a small realm. Don't ever enter the great world again." Yi Qinghan grunted and said coldly, "What a pair of enemies. I deliberately avoided you guys, but we still met." Chapter 1661. The atmosphere was stifling as Yi Qinghan and the one-armed man faced each other. However, Shui Lin did not run away. Her pearl-like eyes stared at Yi Qinghan and the divine bird. The one-armed man was very nervous. He kept telling Shui Lin to run away, but Shui Lin held her chessboard and faced off against Yi Qinghan. She was unwilling to leave. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He knew that the one-armed man was very strong. Moreover, this little girl was probably not to be trifled with, so he was not in a hurry to attack. "You too, did I owe you in my previous life? Do I have a grudge against you?" Yi Qinghan asked with a cold smile. The one-armed man did not speak. Shui Lin's eyes were very innocent. She shook her head and said, "No. I didn't mean to see you. Stupid girl, who told you to turn around? Who told you to rest? You would have been fine if you had just walked over." The divine bird's feathers fluttered as it scolded angrily. The one-armed man took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Sir, we didn't mean to offend you. We didn't know that you were the target they were looking for. It was an unintentional mistake. We were also running for our lives. Let's mind our own business, okay? Mind our own business. But my enemy is right in front of me, and your enemy isn't. I can't believe you." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and summoned the yin-yang mystic record. His killing intent was instantly released. "Yi Qinghan, you just fought with two experts. You probably have less than 10% of your strength left. Even if you rested for a moment, you probably wouldn't have more than 30% of your strength left. Even if you were at your peak, you wouldn't be able to kill me, let alone 30%. Why do you want to hurt both of us and reap the benefits?" The one-armed man replied proudly. "You've ruined my plans time and time again. It's impossible for me to let you go now. Since you're running for your lives, follow me. However, you have to hand this little brat over to me as a hostage. Once I reach the entrance of the 9 prefectures, I'll naturally let you go." Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Impossible. She's the only child of my Lin clan. How can she be your hostage?" The one-armed man angrily rebuked. Yi Qinghan smirked and threatened, "In front of me, you can't protect the Lin family's only heir. You have no choice. 10th uncle, don't be impulsive. I believe this uncle won't kill the innocent. Let's follow him so that we can take care of each other. Maybe we can enter the small territory with him. Won't that be safer?" Shui Lin did not panic in the face of danger. She was so calm that it was a bit abnormal. It was a bit like the wisdom of thousands of years, not a 7 or 8-year-old child. Yi Qinghan was also quite surprised. He did not expect this little girl to be so courageous. "Young master, you are the last child of our neighbor's family. Master personally handed you over to me. How can I let you become a hostage?" The one-armed man transmitted his voice in a gloomy manner. He would never allow such a thing to happen. 10th uncle, you are not our family's servant. My 9 uncles are already dead because of me. I don't want to take any more risks. I will follow this person. Listen to me. I will be your hostage and we will leave together. Shui Lin's expression did not change as she secretly transmitted her voice. Yi Qinghan frowned. He felt the fluctuation of Shui Lin's soul. Her strength was still a bit weak after all. Her transmission was intercepted. He was secretly curious. If this one-armed man was so strong, then the 9 people who died before them were probably not simple either. If 9 people could not protect a little girl, then the enemy's family was probably not much different from hell. If I bring these 2 people back to the 9 prefectures, will it attract the attention of a great power? But if I let them go and they betray me, I won't be able to escape. If I fight, it will be easier to expose my location. Yi Qinghan secretly thought, but he could not think of a way to satisfy both sides. Eldest uncle, I will be your hostage. We will leave with you, but you have to bring us into the small territory. Don't worry, after entering the small territory, we will never come out again. We will also not bring the enemy's family into your small territory. We will not cause you any trouble. Shui Lin vowed solemnly. This stinky girl is so smart. She is even calmer than this adult man. She is so far-sighted. The divine bird secretly said. Yi Qinghan nodded. He had also noticed this. Come to my side. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at Shui Lin. He said coldly. Shui Lin had just taken a step when she was pulled back by the one-armed man. Shui Lin looked up at the one-armed man and shook her head. 10th uncle, listen to me. We can't take this risk. Sighed up the one-armed man sighed and let go of Shui Lin's small hand. Shui Lin was very relaxed. She did not even put up any defense. She even put away the chessboard. This was because she knew that even if she used her full strength, she would not be able to withstand a single slap from Yi Qinghan. Instead of resisting, it was better to get along with Yi Qinghan. Eldest uncle, we really mean you no harm. Don't worry. Shui Lin promised. Pfft. The divine bird sneered and said disdainfully, if you were not worried about exposing your location, you and your 10th uncle would not be able to defeat my master even if you fought together. How dare you have ill intentions? Humph. Shui Lin snorted and ignored the divine bird. Go find some food. Leave Shui Lin with me. She will be fine. Yi Qinghan looked at the one-armed man and said lightly. The one-armed man looked at Shui Lin and gulped. She had not been resting or eating recently. He felt very sorry for her. He stared deeply at Yi Qinghan and turned to leave. Yi Qinghan continued to sit cross-legged on the ground and absorbed the spiritual energy from thousands of miles away. The spiritual energy surged from all directions and poured into his body. 2 hours later, the one-armed man came back with a large amount of spiritual fruits and some fat beasts. Seeing Yi Qinghan cultivate with his eyes closed, he did not disturb him. He threw a few spiritual fruits to Shui Lin. The divine bird did not hesitate and snatched 2 of them. The man dismembered the fat beasts, washed them, and buried them in the ground. He dug a big hole and set it on fire. Soon, a fragrant smell wafted out. This way, he would not expose his location and could still eat cooked meat. It seemed that he had some experience in running for his life. At night, the land of despair was so quiet. However, a gloomy atmosphere filled the air. Some terrifying beasts began to move. In the middle of the night was as dark as ink and the stars twinkled. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and saw the man staring at him. Shui Lin had fallen asleep beside him. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a thick coat to cover Shui Lin. He slowly stood up and said in a low voice, "How should I address you?" Lin Jun, the one-armed man replied in a low voice. "Okay, Taoist Lin." I know you are strong. If you keep your promise, I will not hurt you. However, I will not allow you to enter the land of the 9 states. When we reach the entrance, you and I will go our separate ways, Yi Qinghan said calmly. The one-armed man's face darkened. This situation was normal. No one was willing to provoke someone who had a strong enemy. Moreover, Yi Qinghan himself had a strong enemy. I know. When we reach there, I will take the young mistress away. However, I beg Taoist Yi not to hurt a child, Lin Jun replied in a low voice. Don't worry. I am not that cruel. I have no enmity with you. As long as you don't have any other thoughts, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Chapter 1662. After Yi Qinghan and Lin Jun finished their discussion, they remained silent for a while. Looking up at the sky, the stars in the night sky were even brighter, but they still couldn't see the road ahead. It was not suitable for them to hurry. After all, divine sense was useless here. We'll leave at dawn, Yi Qinghan whispered. The divine bird and Lin Shui were resting beside the boulder, oblivious to the outside world. However, Yi Qinghan and Lin Jun couldn't sleep. They were constantly on guard. Time flew by. The east was shrouded in red clouds. The first ray of sunlight shone on Yi Qinghan's face. Let's go, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Let's wait a little longer. My young mistress is a little sleepy. Otherwise, she'll be in a lot of pain, Lin Jun frowned. Then we'll carry her. Yi Qinghan was very determined. This was the best time to escape. After speaking, Yi Qinghan put the divine bird on his shoulder and carried Lin Shui forward quickly. They traversed the mountains and rivers as if they were walking on flat ground. They didn't disturb Lin Shui's rest. Lin Jun moved swiftly on one side, guarding their surroundings. The two of them carried Lin Shui through the forest like tigers and wolves. Even if they encountered some bandits searching for them, they were immediately killed without giving them any time to warn them. Screech! A bird appeared in the sky. Its wings covered the sky as it swooped down to observe. Just as it flew above the two of them, Lin Jun suddenly soared into the sky and grabbed the bird's sharp claws. With a vicious pull, the bird fell to the ground. Screech! The bird screamed, but before it could roar, Yi Qinghan waved his hand. Gathering qi into a blade, he chopped off its head and crushed its soul. This kind of bird was full of vitality and contained a lot of spiritual energy. It was the best tonic to replenish one's strength. Lin Jun didn't waste it and carried it forward. At noon, Lin Shui woke up. Her eyes were red and she didn't look like a normal person. Yi Qinghan put her down and looked at Lin Shui's eyes. He was very surprised. Her red eyes didn't look like they were swollen due to lack of sleep. Instead, they were abnormally red. Yi Qinghan was very curious. He couldn't help but reach out and grab Shui Lin's wrist. He placed 2 fingers on her pulse and found that her heartbeat was different from a human's. Yi Qinghan looked at Lin Jun. Lin Jun frowned and looked at Yi Qinghan. What's wrong? Did you find anything? She's not human, or has she mutated? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. The mutation caused her to be very sleepy. She needs to sleep for at least half of the day, or else it will be very painful, Lin Jun said honestly. Did the power in her body also appear because of the mutation? Yi Qinghan sensed a majestic power within her body that was swirling towards the nebula. It was grand and magnificent, like the stars in the sky. In the middle stood a chessboard. It was the chessboard she had taken out before. However, the chessboard in her sea of consciousness was a little exaggerated. It used the stars as the chessboard and the firmament as the board. Every step she took caused the firmament to rumble. Lin Jun fell silent and didn't answer. We are just cooperating. Taoist, you shouldn't ask so many questions, Lin Jun said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan shook his head and didn't say anything more. He continued to lead Xue Lin forward. The three of them shuttled through the mountains and fields. Their speed doubled. In half a month, they encountered many ambushes along the way, but they were all defeated by Yi Qinghan. However, their path became clearer and clearer. Wanjun Buddha, Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable, the three black-clothed men, Wang Yanzhang, and more than 10 others rushed to the entrance of the 9 prefectures in advance. They hid on both sides of the cliff, waiting for Yi Qinghan to appear. Yi Qinghan didn't expect their speed to be faster than him. He rushed to the entrance with Lin Jun and Xue Lin as fast as lightning. However, before he could react, more than 10 figures rushed out. Sword light and reincarnation light swept past and almost swept Xue Lin away. Boom! Swoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and used the record of Yin Yang to shatter the reincarnation light. The towering sky battle body gathered energy into a blade and formed a 7-foot heavy blade. With a sweep of the blade, it destroyed mountains and rivers. Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable and the 3 black-clothed men were forced to retreat. Lin Jun exploded and slashed at Wang Yanzhang. The bandit was sent flying for hundreds of meters and fell heavily on the ground. His blood and qi were in turmoil. Swoosh! 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 The 3 black-clothed men attacked Lin Jun at the same time. No matter how strong Lin Jun was, he couldn't defeat the 3 of them instantly. At this moment, he was forced to retreat. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and put Xue Lin on his shoulder. His giant body held the energy blade and swept around violently. Wanjun Buddha chanted the life-threatening Sanskrit. His Buddhist staff broke through the void and attacked Yi Qinghan. Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable held the Mirror of Rebirth. This was his last chance to kill Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, when Yi Qinghan escaped back to the land of the 9 continents, only an eternal being could kill him. Swoosh! 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 The Mirror of Rebirth swept across. Anyone who touched it would be killed. Boom! The record of Yin Yang could only fight against the Mirror of Rebirth. However, there were still 7 experts attacking Yi Qinghan from all directions. He had to divert most of his attention to deal with the others. 9th Blade, Destruction. Roar! The saber light shot out in all directions, and the mountain rocks were shattered by the saber light. The saber light was full of destruction, and it clashed with the light of reincarnation. However, Cloud Sky High Venerable was already prepared to die in order to kill Yi Qinghan, and he managed to block Yi Qinghan's saber. Even if I die, the great Lord of Hell will let me come back to life. You will never be able to rise again. Swoosh! The Mirror of Rebirth tore the space apart. A path of reincarnation shot out a beam of light that devoured everything. The destructive force was shattered and returned to hell. Boom! Yi Qinghan's leg bones cracked under the pressure. The rocks under his feet were shattered. Boom! 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 Swoosh! 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 Behind Yi Qinghan, 7 experts charged at him with sharp swords. Their sword radiance was like rainbows that pierced through space. Even though Yi Qinghan knew that the 7 swords behind him were as powerful as Cloud Sky Exalted Venerable, he could not divert his attention to deal with them. He could only grit his teeth and endure. However, at this moment, Lin Xue, who was standing on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, suddenly shot out red light from her eyes. A chessboard appeared in her hand. With the heavens and the earth as the chessboard, with the stars and everything as the chessboard, everything is within the order. Suppress. Boom! 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 The chessboard expanded infinitely. It rushed forward and collided with the 7 swords in an instant. It broke the 7 powerful boundary weapon divine swords in an unstoppable manner. Without any delay, it charged at the 7 experts again. The 7 experts were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They fled in panic. The star chessboard. It's all-encompassing. She's from the star tribe and the controller of the star chessboard. Wanjun Buddha's expression changed drastically. He stopped chanting. Oh no. Lin Jun's expression changed drastically. He knew that it was over this time. Lin Shui's identity had been exposed. Die. Boom. Yi Qinghan's blade swept across the mountains and rivers. A crack appeared on the ground. It swept past Wanjun Buddha's head and shattered his body. Whoosh! The blade radiance pierced through the clouds and went deep into the land of despair. The 3 black-clothed men left decisively and disappeared quickly. Chapter 1663. Yi Qinghan's saber pierced through time and space and killed the Buddha. Everyone else fled, leaving only Yun Tian High Holiness. Yi Qinghan. You can't escape. If you go back with me, my master might spare your life. If you don't realize your mistake, you will never be able to turn the tables. Yun Tian High Holiness roared. Boom! The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up as he viciously said, My fate is up to me, not the heavens. No one can control my fate. Eternal. I bet that those high and mighty people won't take action for an ant. Boom! Swooshed out a ray of divine light shrouded the sky and pressed down from the sky. Yun Tian High Holiness's body was almost crushed, and his blood stained the surroundings. Bang! Shui Lin threw the star chessboard out and sent Yun Tian High Holiness flying. The rebirth mirror flew out of his hand. No. Lord Lin was shocked. Shui Lin could deal with other people, but if she attacked someone from hell, she would offend hell as well. Unfortunately, his reminder came too late. Cloud Sky Supreme Venerable was smashed into pieces. His soul took away the mirror of reincarnation and escaped into the order of reincarnation in an instant. Young mistress. You've gotten yourself into big trouble. Lin Jun was a little angry, but he was even more shocked. His voice was a little hoarse. Lin Shui's innocent eyes darted around before she looked at Yi Qinghan again. Her pale face revealed a hint of panic. Yi Qinghan sighed. It was normal for Lin Jun to be worried. If she didn't attack Yun Tian High Holiness, she wouldn't have offended hell. But now, she might have offended the Lord of Hell and Heavenly Buddha Lord. Forget it. Don't talk about her. She just wanted to help me. I brought you guys into the land of the 9 states. This hatred started because of me, and it will end because of me. I won't sit by and do nothing, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. I won't go in. If I go into the big world, I might be able to confuse the enemies. Take the young mistress into the small world and make sure she never comes out. Lin Jun's face was heavy as he stared at Shui Lin. His eyes were full of reluctance and worry. Shui Lin didn't want to, but Yi Qinghan didn't give her a chance to speak. He knocked her out and carried her on his back. Taoist Lin is loyal and brave. I admire you. Take care of yourself. I will train her to become an immortal sooner or later. We will meet again. Goodbye. Today. Then, Yi Lin and Shui Lin went back to the land of the 9 states. Back in the land of the 9 states, everything was peaceful. Yi Qinghan looked at Shui Lin in his hand and thought for a moment. Then, he took her to the outside of the Shenwu city, dug up the dragon vein, sealed her body, and put her into the dragon cauldron. Then, he sealed it again and suppressed the dragon cauldron with crazed gravity. I don't know if I'll be able to live on, so I can't keep you by my side. As for you, you'll have to wait for the fated person to release you. No matter how many years pass, at least you'll still be alive. If the Lord of Hell doesn't personally deal with me after 10,000 years, I'll release you, Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. When Lin Jun returned to Eternal World, he brought with him a child who was about the same age as Lin Shui. Lin Jun found a little beggar from who knows where to disguise himself as Lin Shui and kept appearing to attract the attention of his enemies. Cloud Sky High Venerable, whose body was destroyed, returned to Hell. Half a year later, in the Eternal Hall of the 18th District of Hell, the 10 ghost gods gathered. Cloud Sky High Venerable knelt in the hall and didn't dare to raise his head. The Eternal Sovereign hadn't appeared yet, but the atmosphere in the hall was very tense. The 10 supreme ghost gods didn't dare to say anything. The Eternal Hall was luxurious and dazzling. However, it was very creepy. Some of the sculptures were strange creatures that had never been seen before. They had eerie fangs and could steal people's souls. Shwa! An old woman appeared in the hall. Her body was covered with skulls. Her face was full of wrinkles and her aura was very creepy. However, she didn't have the temperament of an eternal sovereign. Greetings, Dream Master. The 10 supreme ghost gods immediately half-knelt on the ground and said respectfully. Cloud Sky High Venerable's soul shivered. He prostrated himself on the ground and said in a hoarse voice, Dream Master, I have failed my mission. I have humiliated Hell. Please punish me. This is the matter of the 16th district. You fought on behalf of your slave. Although you lost, you were loyal. However, this matter has indeed humiliated Hell. You have become the laughing stock of all the major factions. My master is very angry. He wants you to go to the reincarnation pond of the 18th district to meet him. The old woman's face was full of wrinkles. Her voice was filled with vicissitudes of life. The 10 supreme ghost gods and Cloud Sky High Venerable looked at each other. At this moment, they understood that the eternal sovereign of Hell was angry. How could he, who cared about his reputation, endure the ridicule of others? And this time, the one who humiliated Hell was an ant from a small region. The 10 supreme ghost gods and Cloud Sky High Venerable hurried to the reincarnation pond of the 18th district. There were still 7 reincarnation ponds in the 18th district. The surroundings were beautiful. The flowers were red and green, and a river surrounded the land. On a small boat sat an old man. His back seemed to be filled with history. It was as if he was a reincarnation of endless history. Just a glance at him would make one fall into it. The 10 supreme ghost gods and Cloud Sky High Venerable bowed. They didn't even dare to look at the back of the eternal sovereign. He was the eternal sovereign, the master of Hell. At this moment, he was holding a bamboo pole with a thin line on it. He was fishing in the water. Hell's reincarnation is supreme. Since its creation, no one has ever changed the order of the reincarnation pond of riches and honor. No one has ever humiliated Hell's reincarnation. Now that Hell has been humiliated, I have personally ordered the capture. After so many years, even the reincarnation city lord of the 17th district was defeated and his body was shattered. Tell me, what use do I have for you? The hoarse voice was bone-piercing. It was as if thousands of ants were eating away at one's bones. It was so piercing that one's head was about to explode. Bang! 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 Cloud Sky High Venerable was so scared that he knelt on the ground. The 10 supreme ghost gods also knelt down. They didn't dare to refute. My supreme master, it's my incompetence. Please punish me, cluck. Cluck, Cloud Sky High Venerable's teeth were chattering. He was drenched in cold sweat. His soul was about to shatter. Who is to blame? The reincarnation city lord of the 16th district, Wang Haotian, neglected his duty. I gave the order, but he asked you for help. Instead, he reaped the benefits. Such a person shouldn't exist in Hell. He shouldn't be the reincarnation city lord. Boom! The old man waved his hand and pierced through space. A huge hand that covered the sky shattered the 16th district. The order of reincarnation changed drastically. Wang Haotian didn't even know how he died. The entire reincarnation city was destroyed. Huff. Huff. The 10 supreme ghost gods knelt on the ground. They were breathing heavily and didn't dare to speak. Cloud Sky High Venerable almost fainted. Cloud Sky, you recommended Wang Haotian. If he did something wrong, you have to bear the consequences. Go to reincarnation. Whoosh! Cloud Sky High Venerable's soul was forcefully taken away by the order and sent to the rightmost reincarnation pool. Whoosh! The eternal sovereign of hell waved his hand and pulled up the bamboo pole. There was a huge creature wrapped around the thin string. No matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't escape from the binding of the thin string. Ha ha ha. This old man admires young people with courage and insight the most. Revered dream, bring his soul to me. Looking at the struggling beast, the Hell Eternal Sovereign smiled and said sinisterly, Ants, you think you're qualified to struggle? Chapter 1664. Dream Supremacy looked like an old and powerless woman. She wasn't a threat at all. However, her strength was second only to the Eternal Sovereign in Hell. She was even stronger than the 10 great ghost deities. Most importantly, she had never disappointed the Eternal Sovereign for countless years. She was even more favored than the 10 great ghost deities. Dream Supremacy bowed. Unlike the others, she wasn't afraid of the Eternal Sovereign. Instead, she was in awe. Supreme Lord, can you send the 10 great ghost deities to me? After all, Yi Qinghan has many experts under him. They are too much of a hindrance. Dream Supremacy bowed and said. As you wish. Hell's Eternal Sovereign didn't even turn his head. He crushed the ferocious beast on the thin line into powder and threw the bamboo pole into the surging river. Dream Supremacy brought the 10 great ghost deities to Eternal World. They knew that it was impossible to enter 9 continents through Hell's reincarnation order. Just the 9 divine cauldrons and the dragon vein were enough to seal 9 continents. With so many experts guarding the place, unless the Eternal Sovereign personally came, no one would be able to shake the defense of 9 continents. Each of the 10 great ghost deities had their own unique characteristics. They weren't all humans. 3 of them had transformed into ferocious beasts. The horns on their heads were their unique characteristics. Their aura was extraordinary. They weren't any weaker than Cloud Sky Exalted. As for Dream Supremacy, she was even stronger. If the Realm Overlord was divided into 9 levels, these 10 great ghost deities were equivalent to the 6th level. Yi Qinghan was at the 8th level. As for Dream Supremacy, she was definitely at the peak of the 8th level. My Lord's glory must not be tarnished. The ants of the mortal world must be killed this time. All of you, stay alert. Don't disappoint my Lord. Dream Supremacy held her walking stick and said coldly. Lord Dream Supremacy, with you personally taking action, even if Yi Qinghan has wings, he won't be able to escape. A ghost deity with a horn on his head said flatteringly. That's right. In this world, other than Lord Eternal Sovereign, who can be Lord Dream Supremacy's opponent? The 10 supreme fiend gods said flatteringly. Humph, don't let your guard down. I've checked this person's reincarnation and battle record. His combat strength is comparable to mine, but he's very strange. Furthermore, he has a strange bird by his side that always affects his opponent's mental state. For this operation, once we enter the land of sinners, half of us will be in charge of dealing with his subordinates, while the other half will join forces with me to kill Yi Qinghan. After killing him, we'll retreat immediately. Yes. Lord Dream Lord. The 10 supreme fiend gods bowed and replied. They were the green-faced demon god, the resentful bone demon god, the Rakshasa demon god, the eyeless demon god, the crying baby demon god, the Yiksha demon god, the red-clothed demon god, the green slaughter demon god, the cold woman demon god, and the white silk demon god. The red-robed ghost god was the most recognizable. The Wuxia ghost god was the most ferocious. The cold woman ghost god was the most beautiful. She was so beautiful that she didn't look like a malicious ghost. The white silk ghost god was wrapped in white silk. The resentful bone ghost god looked like he was filled with resentment. It was as if everyone owed him money. The green-faced demon god's face was green. He looked more like a malicious ghost. The 10 supreme fiend gods controlled the 10 great laws of hell. They were destruction, resentment, slaughter, darkness, despair. Among them, the white silk demon god, the crying baby demon god, the resentful bone demon god, and the eyeless demon god were the most terrifying. They killed people without leaving a trace. There were 4 women and 6 men. The green-faced demon god, the Rakshasa demon god, and the cold woman demon god were not human. They were bloodthirsty. The 10 of them followed Dream Lord to the land of despair. Since they couldn't fly, it would take at least half a year to reach the land of despair from the blessed Buddha temple's territory. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was sitting cross-legged on the dragon vein. He was bitterly cultivating the Grand Tao, comprehending the mysteries of the star chessboard, and perfecting the order of the wild martial great world. Day after day, he cultivated tirelessly. A layer of dew covered his body. The divine bird was bored to death. The little money grubber was still hugging its nest. Its son was still inside the egg. It didn't even show any signs of breaking the shell. So boring. I want to enter the eternal world and expand my territory. I want to become a supreme eternal sovereign. The divine bird was so bored that it went crazy. It had no interest in sitting here with Yi Qinghan and not moving for dozens of years. Yi Qinghan ignored it. Instead, he was comprehending the heaven-reaching record, mysterious yin-yang record, and the star chessboard's mysteries. Once a secret technique reached the Great Circle, it could reach the Great Circle of the Realm Lord Realm. Time was life. If he wanted to preserve his life, he had to become an eternal sovereign. The divine bird was too lazy to bother with Yi Qinghan. It hooked up with the little golden crow, the multicolored snake, and the star twining vine and wandered towards the sword sect. These divine pets were all top-notch existences in the inner world. Especially the star twining vine. It had already reached the Realm Lord Realm. It was also the first spiritual pet to reach the Realm Lord Realm. No one dared to provoke it. Wherever it went, it would be treated with good food and drinks. Kakaka, it's still more comfortable to wander outside. The divine bird said smugly. Where are we going? The little golden crow asked curiously. The divine bird replied excitedly, to the eternal world and bring back some treasures. I heard that the eternal world is very dangerous. Even realm lords might not be able to protect their lives there. The little golden crow reminded. Big brother divine bird will protect you. The divine bird vowed solemnly. Bah! Do you still remember what happened in the snow god sect's territory? You abandoned me and ran away alone. You still have the face to say that you will protect me? The little golden crow reprimanded. The divine bird's face did not turn red. It raised its brows and retorted, if it wasn't for me, you would have died long ago. You don't know how to appreciate kindness. Just like that, the spiritual pets wandered their way and entered the desolate region of the eternal world. The divine bird brought them everywhere. The star twining vine took root everywhere and climbed the cliffs as if it was flying. Whether it was the divine treasures hidden in the cliffs or the abyss, nothing could escape from their hands. There are peerless materials 30 li southwest. Kakaka, there are also ferocious beasts guarding it. Let's split up and work together. The little golden crow and the multicolored snake will lure them away. The star twining vine and I will go get the peerless materials. The divine bird swung on the star twining vine's vines. It was too lazy to even fly. Most importantly, it did not dare to fly because there were terrifying flying beasts in the sky from time to time. With their combat strength, it was possible for them to tear it apart and swallow it alive. Swoosh! Swoosh! The divine bird, the star twining vine and the other spiritual pets rushed southwest. However, at the side of a cliff, the divine bird's expression changed. It waved its wings and warned, "Stop! Hide yourselves! There are powerful enemies approaching." The star twining vine quickly stretched out its vines and wrapped the divine bird, the little golden crow and the multicolored snake. They were as inconspicuous as thorns. Swoosh! Not long after, Dream Supremacy and the 10 demon deities passed by them. The divine bird was not stupid. It could still distinguish the creatures of hell. It quickly transmitted its voice to the little golden crow, "Hurry up and fly back to the land of the 9 prefectures to warn Master. A powerful enemy from hell is invading." The little golden crow was a flying beast that specialized in speed. When it flew across the sky, the temperature was extremely high. No flying beasts were willing to provoke it and let it fly. No matter how strong Dream Sovereign was, she had to run with her legs. Obviously, her speed was not as fast as the little golden crow. Moreover, they were taking a detour while the little golden crow was taking a straight path. Swoosh! Swoosh! The little golden crow sped to the east with all its might. It turned into a stream of light and disappeared in a flash. Chapter 1665. The little golden crow quickly returned to the land of the 9 states. He was already exhausted, so he directly returned to the sword sect. "Powerful enemies from hell have invaded. Quickly notify the sword sect's sect master." The little golden crow roared in the sword sect. Lin Wuxian quickly rushed out of the hall. Seeing that the little golden crow didn't seem to be joking, he quickly asked, "Where is it? How many people? How's his combat strength? In Eternal World, we are already very close to the entrance here. In 10 days at the latest and 7 days at the fastest, we will be able to reach the 9 provinces. There are 11 of them in total, and their battle prowess is definitely the most terrifying existence I have ever seen. None of them are inferior to you. The leader doesn't lose to the owner." The little golden crow exclaimed. Lin Wuqian's expression changed drastically. This was a super force. Roar! Lin Wuqian pulled out his sword and pointed it at the sky. The sword chi rushed into the clouds and shattered the mountains and rivers. As long as one was in the land of the 9 prefectures, it was impossible not to feel the aura of the sword chi. Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes and woke up from his seclusion. When he saw that it was Lin Wuqian's warning, he knew that something bad was going to happen. He streaked across the sky like a rainbow. As the Lord of the 9 states, he appeared in the sword sect in the blink of an eye. Within the sword sect, Yi Qinghan silently appeared. When he saw the little golden crow, he frowned and asked, "What is it? Where are the divine birds?" Hey! We went to Eternal World to search for treasures and saw 11 experts from hell approaching. As I can fly, I am 1 step ahead of them. They will probably arrive here in 5 or 6 days at the latest, the little golden crow said with a wretched smile. Did I just make a great contribution? Yi Qinghan frowned. At this time, Lin Wuqian explained everything to him. He could roughly guess the origin of these 11 people. They must be the strongest existences under the Eternal Sovereigns. None of them would lose to Cloud Sky High Venerable, and the leader would not lose to him. Half a day later, all the realm lords of the 9 states rushed over. Yen Ao even led his army to the Beast God Prefecture. There weren't many of them, but they were all elite troops of the realm army. The Yen Dragon army had about 3 million people. Their strength was mainly composed of supreme gods, and the fake realm lords were the leaders of the army. They rushed to the sword sect with all their might. In addition, the various relay stations had prepared war beasts in advance. All of them were flying beasts and ferocious beasts that specialized in transporting troops. For 3 days, regardless of whether it was day or night, an army of 3 million soldiers appeared at the border of the Beast Divine region to surround the entrance leading to Eternal World. There are a total of 11 enemies. 10 of them are only second to me, 2 levels higher than you all. Their true combat strength is probably 1 level higher than you all. 10 of them can fight against at least 50 of you. In other words, 4 of them can fight against 20 of you. If the 4 tigers of the desperate region are willing to help, they can share the burden of 1 of you. There are still 5 world overlords and 1 strongest expert left. Yi Qinghan reminded in a deep voice. Finally, he turned his gaze to Yan Ao and asked in a hoarse voice, if it were 3 experts like me, would you be able to stop them with your million-strong army? Yan Ao frowned. His ability to lead troops was indeed top-notch, but it was far from being heaven-defying. It was already difficult to stop 2 existences like Yi Qinghan, let alone 3 of them. It's very difficult, and if we fight in the inner realm, we will suffer heavy losses. If we can't defend it, the entire inner realm will be destroyed, Yan Ao reminded in a deep voice. Old Yan, follow me into the eternal world. Let's get rid of 2 or 3 of them first. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he decided to take the initiative to attack. Yan Yunbei's lips curled up. The short blade in his hand released a blade light. There were poisonous insects attached to the blade. As long as the blade cut through the skin, the person would be crippled. Even if they could resist Yan Yunbei's killing intent, they wouldn't be able to avoid the corrosion of the poisonous insects. Xiao. The 2 entered the sacred light. Yi Qinghan quickly entered the desperate region while Yan Yunbei had to bitterly cultivate in the lightning punishment region. However, not long after, Yan Yunbei smoothly passed the test and entered the desperate region. The moment he entered the desperate region, Yan Yunbei quickly sat cross-legged on the ground. A moment later, he recovered the energy he had lost. A large amount of spirit qi rushed into his body and his strength increased by a lot. He was more than 30% stronger than before. After wasting a day, Yi Qinghan wasn't in a hurry. The next morning, Yan Yunbei got up. His body flashed and disappeared from Yi Qinghan's sight. Yi Qinghan searched carefully but couldn't find his location. Shua. Just when Yi Qinghan relaxed, a gloomy killing intent shrouded his heart. It made his hair stand on end. He didn't have time to turn around and directly rushed forward. Puchi. A cold light tore apart Yi Qinghan's outer clothes. The light cut into his skin, causing a burning pain. Yan Yunbei appeared behind Yi Qinghan. He didn't chase after him. Instead, he clapped his hands and asked with a smile, how was it? Awesome. Yi Qinghan's body trembled. He dragged his voice and replied with a hoarse voice. Then let's go. Help me stall for time and divert their attention. Assassinating 2 or 3 people won't be a problem. Yan Yunbei said confidently. Okay. Let's go. Yi Qinghan excitedly rushed into the depths of the desperate region. Yan Yunbei hid in the dark and quietly followed. The cold wind blew. Yi Qinghan could feel the turbulence around him. The 2's speed became faster and faster. Finally, they met Dream Sovereign and the 10 supreme demons in a valley. Yi Qinghan looked down at the 11 of them. His eyes were deep and his robes were cold. How should I address you, my friends from hell? Yi Qinghan took the initiative to ask. Yi Qinghan. Dream Sovereign's expression didn't change. He was in disbelief. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to take the initiative to come to him. Shua. The 10 supreme demons flashed and surrounded Yi Qinghan. Their faces were filled with murderous intent. I want to reconcile with you. I was wrong in the beginning. I tampered with the order of the reincarnation pool. However, I didn't blaspheme hell. I also didn't have the intention to insult the eternal overlords of hell. Please let me go. I apologize to hell in front of everyone, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Reconcile? My master can't feel the apology of an ant. Are you coming with me to meet my master? Or do you want us to kill your body and bring your soul back? Dream Sovereign asked coldly. Is there really no chance of reconciliation? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. You don't deserve it. If you want to live, follow me obediently. If you can flatter my master like a dog and make him happy, you can live, Dream Sovereign said coldly. Sigh, Yi Qinghan sighed. It seemed like he had offended hell. With a soft sigh, the color of the sky changed. A cold light flashed past and streaked across the back of the green-faced demon deity. Its speed was so fast that even the supremacy demon deity couldn't react in time. The blade pierced through his defense and into his flesh. Roar! Roar! The green-faced demon screamed. He turned around and smashed the void with his palm. He charged towards Yan Yunbei. However, Yan Yunbei disappeared in an instant. You're courting death. It seems like you don't want to rise again. Dream Sovereign was furious. The cane in his hand was like a divine weapon that cut through time and space. He swept it towards Yi Qinghan's head. Hua! Boom! 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 In a split second, the earth cracked. Dream Sovereign leaped a few hundred feet. It was as if he was flying. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1666. Dream Sovereign was indeed a top-notch existence within the Sector Lords. The moment he attacked, the order of the world was distorted. The crutch emitted the aura of reincarnation and destruction. It was even stronger than the Yin-Yang record. Boom! Hua! The Yin-Yang record and the reincarnation crutch collided. Qi rushed to the Milky Way and spread in all directions. Zeng zeng zeng. Yi Qinghan's blood was boiling. He was forced to retreat step by step. Dream Sovereign's aged face had a tinge of blood. His eyes were emotionless like the reincarnation of hell. He did not retreat at all. Instead, he attacked aggressively. The Yin-Yang record was forced back. The reincarnation crutch broke through the shackles and attacked Yi Qinghan with the mysteries of heaven and earth. A small difference could lead to a huge difference. Yi Qinghan and Dream Sovereign's strength was only a small difference. However, because of this small difference, Yi Qinghan was forced to retreat. Shua! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed. Palm prints were formed continuously. Dream Sovereign was fighting. At this moment, the green-faced ghost god was in a daze. He could not control his limbs. He was controlled by the poisonous bug. However, he was still struggling. He could not use it to fight against the other ghost gods. The red ghost god and the others were shocked. They looked around, trying to find Yan Yunbei's location. However, there was no movement at all. He was even harder to find than a ghost. Leave 5 people to defend the perimeter. The rest of you, cooperate with me. Let's end this quickly. Dream Sovereign ordered while attacking Yi Qinghan. Boom! 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 Swoosh! 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 More than 10 experts were fighting here. A large number of bandits were alerted. Dozens of people were watching from the perimeter. Blade, come! Boom! Yi Qinghan grabbed the void. He gathered his qi into a blade and held it in his palm. His body suddenly expanded. He was like an ancient giant god. His battle intent soared to the sky. Once he unleashed his strength, who could fight him? Hua! Yi Qinghan swept his saber across and repelled the 4 supreme demon deities. He pointed his saber at revered Dream and sternly reprimanded, "Hell, don't be so overbearing. I admit my mistake and apologize. Since you've gone too far, don't blame me for starting a massacre today. Starting a massacre? Are you worthy? Ant. Holding the reincarnation crutch in her hand, Dream Supremacy straightened her body slightly. Her transcendent aura soared into the sky. If this was an eternal world and she was fighting in hell, Yi Qinghan would definitely be killed instantly. If you want to be an ant, you should have the awareness of being an ant. How dare you disobey my master's summons? You're just courting death. The red-clothed demon god looked sinister and terrifying. It moved at an extremely fast speed as it circled around Yi Qinghan. The baleful aura around it destroyed everything in its path and robbed them of their vitality. If that's the case, then bring it on. Yi Qinghan was furious. Heavy attack, heaven falls and earth rends. 9 heavens tornado, heaven splitter. Whoosh! The moment the blade was unleashed, the mountains and rivers changed color. The Azure Dragon's 9 transformations was unstoppable. A golden dragon swirled through time and space, rushing into the 9 heavens. It was as if the heavens had split open and the earth was rising and falling. The entire region was intimidated. In the vicinity of 1,000 miles, the vital energy and blood of all the experts stagnated, and they felt as if their internal organs were being shaken by this aura. Boom! The giant dragon swung its tail, and the record of Yin Yang smashed down from the sky in an attempt to suppress everything. Boom boom boom! The giant tail swung down, smashing the mountain peak and hitting 2 demon gods. The demon gods were unable to resist and were forcefully sent flying. You're courting death. The Dream Sovereign was enraged. The reincarnation crutch turned into a reincarnation dragon. It swallowed the sky and wanted to swallow Yi Qinghan. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Both of their auras were monstrous, turning the entire region into a land of death. Even the mountains and rivers were flattened. Boom! The reincarnation dragon swallowed Yi Qinghan, but the blade radiance broke through the shackles and the reincarnation. I'm no longer afraid of death. Even death can't do anything to me. What can a mere reincarnation do to me? Yi Qinghan rushed out forcefully, and with a sweep of his blade, he attacked Dream Supremacy. Whoosh! Dream Supremacy grabbed the reincarnation crutch back into his hand and smashed it towards Zhong Quan. At this moment, the Rakshasa demon god attacked from behind, stirring up a massacre. It collided with one's soul, causing one's divine consciousness to dissipate. Whoosh! A sword flew through the air, slashing towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan did not even look at him. He was focused on his battle with Dream Supremacy. Boom! As they clashed, the world's top esoteric law exploded. The destructive force spread for 1,000 miles, and Yi Qinghan's blade of air was shattered into dust. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan flew backwards, crashing into the incoming Rakshasa. The electric sword radiance was terrifying. Just as it was about to be pierced by the divine sword, the red-robed demon god, crying baby demon god, and cold woman demon god attacked from 3 sides, forming a sure-kill formation. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, a cold radiance appeared behind the Rakshasa demon god. The blade radiance flashed, but it was gone in a flash, and the short blade pierced into the Rakshasa's neck. Splat! The Rakshasa's long sword flew out of his hand. He clutched his neck as the short blade pierced through his throat. Endless destructive and murderous aura entered his body, destroying his life force. His screams tore through the air. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The red-robed demon god, who was closest to the Rakshasa demon god, retracted his sword and attacked Yan Yunbei. However, Yi Qinghan twisted his body in the air and swept his leg, kicking the red-robed demon god away. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan followed up with a sweep of his blade, repelling the other demon gods and buying time for Yan Yunbei to escape. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei pulled out his blade and left. The Rakshasa demon god clutched his throat, his pupils constricting. He was unwilling to give up, but blood splattered from his neck, dyeing the ground red. The ninth blade, destruction. Yi Qinghan roared and attacked in all directions, disrupting everyone's vision. Yan Yunbei quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. At this time, Dream Supremacy had just neutralized the power of the saber. Her blood and qi were in turmoil. Even though her battle strength was monstrous, she was still panting. In terms of endurance, she might be 30% stronger than Yi Qinghan, but in terms of explosive power, Yi Qinghan was definitely much stronger than them. Boom! Dream Senior's eyes flashed coldly. She clenched her bone-like fingers and smirked, "Brat, you've angered me. Today, I'll teach you a lesson." Boom! Crack crack crack. Dream Senior stabbed the reincarnation crutch into the ground. She formed a seal with both of her palms, manipulating the order of heaven and earth. 2 rays of reincarnation shot out from her eyes. Reincarnation of Tao, the glory of my Lord shrouds my sight. Destroy. Boom. No matter how fast Yi Qinghan was, he was not faster than Dream Senior's gaze. A ray of reincarnation power struck Yi Qinghan's chest. He did not even have the chance to resist and his body was pierced through. Boom. Bang. Puff. Yi Qinghan's defensive armor and divine power were instantly pierced through. Even his body had a crack. The destructive power of reincarnation tore away his vitality. He almost fainted on the spot and spat out blood. Whoosh! 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 The record of Yin Yang immediately protected his golden body, blocking part of the destructive power. Boom! Yi Qinghan flew backward and crashed into a huge rock. He fell heavily to the ground, his eyes lifeless. Whoosh! At this moment, Yan Yunbei took him and fled into the distance. Chapter 1667. Yi Qinghan was severely injured by the forbidden technique and fainted on the spot. Dream Supremacy didn't fare any better either as she fell to the ground and couldn't get up. A forbidden technique was a forbidden technique after all. It was a forbidden technique that couldn't be used unless it was absolutely necessary. Once it was used, both sides would be injured. Dream Supremacy's divine power would be sucked dry and her soul would enter a weakened state. Taking advantage of the lightning flashes and thunder rolls, Yan Yunbei carried Yi Qinghan and escaped into the depths. The remaining 8 ghosts immediately rushed towards Dream Supremacy, fearing that she would meet with an accident. "Leave 2 of you behind. The rest of you chase after them. No matter what, we must capture Yi Qinghan's soul," Dream Supremacy anxiously ordered. The Frost Lady Ghost and Green Slaughter Ghost God, who had the weakest cultivation, stayed behind. The remaining 6 followed Yan Yunbei and rushed towards the outside world. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Yan Yunbei carried Yi Qinghan and rushed towards the distance. Half a day later, they flew over the heads of the divine bird, the multicolored snake, and the star-twining vine. At this moment, the star-twining vine wrapped around the 2 and rushed towards the other side. The vine coiled around the cliff and swung towards the other side. Swoosh! The star-twining vine was thousands of meters long and its speed was obviously faster than the Realm Master. Most importantly, it could travel between the cliffs while the Realm Master couldn't do it. "Put me down. I will stall for time. You guys find a place to hide in the depths. I will find you guys later." Yan Yunbei broke free from the star-twining vine and immediately hid himself, waiting for the appearance of the Supremacy Ghost God. The desolate region quieted down. Even the most ferocious villains had to give way when they encountered these people. The intelligent birds didn't dare to expose the whereabouts of these people and had to rely on themselves to deal with them. Yan Yunbei hid himself and the 6 ghosts came to a valley. However, they didn't dare to move recklessly because they were suppressed by Yan Yunbei. Anyone who moved would die unless they found out his location in advance. At this moment, the star-entwining vine swept away Yi Qing Han, the divine bird, and the multicolored snake. They ran madly through the wilderness, day and night. After more than a month, they finally passed through the land of despair and entered a large human gathering place. Yi Qing Han woke up from his coma. There was a bloody hole in his chest, but it had already closed up. Blood dyed his battle robe red, and his expression was extremely ugly. He could barely use 20 to 30% of the energy in his body. The destructive energy was wreaking havoc in his body, causing him unbearable pain. Humph, Yi Qing Han groaned. He leaned against a rock and absorbed the star-twisting vine, divine bird, and multicolored snake into his body. He stared blankly at the sun in the sky, and the corners of his mouth cracked. Hiss! Yi Qing Han tore apart his blood-red robe and changed into a green robe. It was very plain and simple, just like a commoner. However, his temperament could not be concealed. Now that he was seriously injured, he could not change his appearance. He could only take the risk. Gazing into the depths, there were Buddha statues everywhere, enveloped in Buddhist light. However, the humans were living a very poor life. Only the true experts could live a comfortable life. This was blessed Buddha Temple's territory, but it was unknown which temple controlled it. You killed the 10,000 June Buddha. Running to blessed Buddha Temple's territory, I'm afraid it's not very appropriate. The divine bird ran to Yi Qing Han's shoulder and reminded him softly. The words Yi Qing Han are not written on my forehead. As long as you don't spout nonsense, it's fine. Yi Qing Han's hoarse voice was very tired. Right now, he could only find a place to cultivate and recover from his injuries. Rustle. Yi Qing Han walked on foot, heading towards a small mountain village. The small mountain village had a fenced courtyard. There were more than 10 villagers, and their cultivation was definitely not too high. Otherwise, they would not be living such a poor life. However, he did not know what their common currency was. If he wanted the villagers to shut up, he would have to give them some benefits. Yi Qing Han glanced at the divine bird and asked tiredly, "Did you find any good treasures? Give me some first." The divine bird flapped its wings and handed over 2 stalks of divine medicine. They were of very high grade and filled with spiritual energy. Yi Qing Han took the divine medicine and went straight to the mountain village. Outside the mountain village, there were some children cultivating. They were all basic profound techniques, and their grade was not high. For the 9 prefectures, these were not good secret techniques. However, they were like treasures to them. Blessed Buddha Temple did not allow powerful secret techniques to circulate, because too powerful existences would not be able to control them. Yi Qing Han concealed his injuries and pretended to be an ordinary person. He entered the mountain village and attracted the attention of an adult. His cultivation was not high, only at the level of a middle god priest. "Fellow Taoist, I'm just passing by and would like to borrow some time to rest. Would that be convenient?" Yi Qing Han immediately offered up the divine medicine. Both stalks were of high grade. Otherwise, the divine bird would not have taken them. The burly man's eyes lit up and said happily, "Of course, of course. I have an empty room in my house. Please come in." Yi Qing Han wore a gentle smile on his face. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like a heinous criminal. The big man was also an experienced and knowledgeable person, so he didn't think too much about it. After receiving the divine medicine, he quickly led Yi Qing Han into a fenced courtyard. Yi Qing Han's mouth twitched. His chest ached as if thousands of ants were gnawing at his heart, making him sleepy. He gritted his teeth and woke himself up. He covered his chest and followed the burly man into the courtyard. "Fellow Taoist, I am hiding from my enemies. I have no choice but to stay for a few days. If anyone comes looking for me, don't say that you saw me. I will leave immediately after resting. Before I leave, I will give you another 10 stalks of divine medicine." Yi Qing Han said in a low voice. The burly man was overjoyed. People often came to this kind of place to stay, but they would not be so generous. Most of them came to hide from their enemies. There were also some who came to make haste. This was the village's extra income, so he knew that he could not betray a guest. Don't worry, you are not the first person to come here. The burly man was incomparably excited. Yi Qinghan had given them 2 stalks of divine medicine. It was enough for a year's worth of offerings. If there were another 10 stalks, the village would be under a lot less pressure in the next few years. Yi Qinghan nodded. He pushed open the door and entered the side room. It was very clean and tidy. There were bedding and furniture all needed. Can you boil some hot water for me? Yi Qinghan sat on the edge of the bed. His expression was abnormally pained. A destructive black aura covered his entire body. If he did not treat his injuries soon, there would be hidden dangers. Right away. The burly man quickly left. After an incense stick's worth of time, he brought back a bucket of hot water. There was also a 15 or 16-year-old village girl. Her eyes were wide open and her cultivation was even worse. She was not much different from an ordinary person. Xiaoyan, take care of this esteemed person and prepare a table of food for him. This year, your family doesn't have to pay any more offerings. The burly man quickly instructed. Yes, second uncle. The village girl said happily. Yi Qinghan did not haggle too much. After the burly man left, he had the village girl go out to cook. He himself put a large amount of divine medicine into the wooden bucket. The spiritual energy filled the entire room and the fragrance was overwhelming. Yi Qinghan quickly entered the bucket and soaked himself in the spiritual liquid. He absorbed the spiritual energy and expelled the black aura and destructive energy from his body. The star-twisting vine and the multicolored snake guarded the surroundings. The entire room was covered in vines. Chapter 1668. The sky was like a vault, and all living things were imprisoned. The small village was so inconspicuous in this mountain and river. Yi Qinghan was devouring the spiritual energy of the divine medicine. The house was filled with evil energy, and the destructive energy was wreaking havoc in his flesh. A faint murderous intent filled the air. The village girl had prepared a table full of food and wine. They were all sent over by the burly man. He knew that Yi Qinghan was not a simple existence. He had casually given 2 top-grade divine medicines as a reward, and he even gave 10 before leaving. He had to serve such a lord well. Xiaoyan, as long as you take good care of this lord, I'll exempt you from 10 years' worth of offerings. You have to seize this opportunity, understand? The burly man instructed in a deep voice. Yes, second uncle. I definitely won't let you down. Xiaoyan nodded repeatedly and replied expectantly. After giving his instructions, the burly man left the courtyard. He did not dare to disturb Yi Qinghan's rest. The sky gradually darkened. Xiaoyan had been hungry for the entire day, but she did not dare to eat. She could only wait silently. At this moment, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. His body was emitting a large amount of black gas. The destructive energy in his body had also been eliminated by 1/10. He could barely move, but if he wanted to completely heal his injuries, it was not something that could be done in 3 to 5 days. At this time, he urgently needed to replenish his vitality. Spiritual flesh, spiritual fruits, and divine medicines were all supplements. Yi Qinghan got up and waved his hand to collect the black gas. His complexion returned to normal. He changed his clothes and walked out of the room. He found Xiaoyan sitting under the ancient tree in the courtyard. Xiaoyan, right? Prepare some food for me. I want all of it meat, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Okay. Gulp, Xiaoyan's stomach grumbled. She rubbed her stomach and rushed to the kitchen on the right side of the house. She took out a whole spirit beast roast from the pot. The fragrance assailed her nostrils. Yi Qinghan swallowed his saliva. Seeing that there was still a lot of food in the house, he took the initiative to help. Soon, the table was filled with food. It was all meat that could replenish vitality. Xiaoyan's eyes flashed as she licked her tongue. She looked very pitiful. Yi Qinghan grabbed a meat leg and threw it to Xiaoyan, saying coldly, "Eat it." After that, Yi Qinghan began to gobble down the meat to replenish his energy and vitality. The divine bird also wolfed down the meat without hesitation. However, it had to be said that little Yan's barbecue was very good. It was very fragrant, and the vitality of the meat was not destroyed. It contained a large amount of vitality. Yi Qinghan felt refreshed with every bite. He quickly recovered his strength. Xiaoyan took 2 bites and asked timidly, "Supreme Darin, can this servant give this piece of meat to mother to eat?" After Yi Qinghan had his fill, he looked at Xiaoyan's tender face and asked, "Can't your mother move?" Mother's legs were injured and had to be amputated. "Please have mercy, Darin. I can choose not to eat." Xiaoyan pursed her lips and begged. Yi Qinghan looked at the remaining meat on the table. He did not touch a single hair, so he pushed it to her and said indifferently, "Take it. Eat until you are full. I still need you to take care of me for the time being." "Thank you, Supreme Darin. Thank you, Supreme Darin." Xiaoyan knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly in gratitude. Yi Qinghan did not need such humble respect. He stood up and looked at the forest outside the village. He waved his hand and took out the multicolored snake. He said in a serious voice, "Go and catch some strong vicious beasts. However, I want them to be fresh and have vitality. The vitality of these creatures is not enough to make up for my loss." Whoosh! The multicolored snake quickly disappeared and headed straight for the forest. "Star Twisting Vine, send a clone to find Old Smoke and lure him here." Whoosh! A strand of the Star Twisting Vine left the main vine like a snake and quickly disappeared into the night. Xiaoyan quickly ran back home with the hair and meat, leaving Yi Qinghan alone. Yi Qinghan's face was heavy. He had to quickly recover his strength. Otherwise, he would definitely die when the underworld recovered. In the center of the desolate domain, a valley was in a mess. The mountain rocks were stained with blood. The large amount of blood was shocking, but there were no corpses. There were fierce bandits everywhere. They were all hiding and were unwilling to interfere with the war between the underworld and Yi Qinghan. Offending either of them was a disaster. The Dream Master used a day and a night to recover half of his strength. However, he was still exhausted. The damage caused by the forbidden art was not easy to heal. The Dream Master looked at the injured Rakshasa and green-faced demonic immortal with a deep gaze. He reached out his hand and placed it on the heads of the 2 demonic immortals. He found that the child worms were attached to their hearts and were constantly corroding them. These child worms were not the insect queen mother after all. Their power was weakened by more than half. Until now, they were still unable to control the 2 demonic immortals. "Humph." The Dream Master groaned. A stream of chi flowed through the blood vessels of the 2 demonic immortals. It went straight to their hearts and destroyed all the child worms on their hearts. Puff! The 2 demonic immortals spat out 2 mouthfuls of black blood. Their vision turned black and they almost died on the spot. Bang! 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 The Dream Master quickly sealed the 8 extraordinary meridians of the 2 demonic immortals. He transferred some life force to the 2 demonic immortals, allowing them to walk back from the gates of hell. At this moment, the Bailing demonic immortal and the rest returned in a sorry state. The 3 demonic immortals were injured and could not control themselves. They were forcefully brought back by the other 3 demonic immortals. "Dream Master, I did not do my best. Yi Qinghan escaped. The strange assassin beside him injured the three of us. However, he was also severely injured. It is uncertain whether he can survive. The Bai Ling demonic immortal said respectfully. Slap. The Dream Master was furious. He slapped the crying baby demonic immortal. However, he could not bear to hit the Bai Ling demonic immortal. There were not many demonic immortals as beautiful as her. Even the Lord of Hell treated her nicely. Trash. A bunch of trash. Since you injured him, why didn't you kill him? Why didn't you continue to pursue Yi Qinghan? How dare you come back and tell me? The Dream Master scolded angrily. The Dream Master's vision turned black. He staggered and almost fell down. It was clear that he was furious. Bai Ling's face revealed a trace of nervousness. His palms were sweaty as he said hoarsely, "That assassin was hit by my sword. It pierced through his heart. However, he risked his life and escaped." As for Yi Qinghan, he escaped towards the blessed Buddha temple's territory. With his injured body, it is impossible for him to leave the blessed Buddha temple's territory. As long as we ask the blessed Buddha temple for help, capturing Yi Qinghan will be a piece of cake. The red-robed demonic immortal, the resentful-boned demonic immortal, and the eyeless demonic immortal were severely injured. They were also corroded by the poisonous insects. They were unconscious. The Dream Master acted again. She used 30% of her strength to heal them. Now, she only had 20% left. However, she was afraid that a long delay would bring more trouble. She did not dare to stay any longer. She said solemnly, "The 10 of you, carry me to the blessed Buddha temple and ask the great Buddha for help. This time, we must not make any mistakes." The 10 demonic immortals quickly built a palanquin and carried Dream Master to the blessed Buddha temple's territory. Chapter 1669. The 10 supreme demons carried the Dream God and walked as if they were flying. The Dream God sat on the palanquin and absorbed the spirit chi to quickly heal his injuries. When the demons passed by, the villains avoided them and did not dare to collide with them. 100,000 miles away, Yan Yunbei covered his chest and coughed out blood. His face was pale and he kept vomiting blood. Puff. It was the first time Yan Yunbei had suffered such a serious injury. The light in his eyes faded and he could not hold on any longer. There was blood all along the way, attracting the attention of powerful creatures. However, they did not dare to get too close because the power of blood was too strong. However, the beasts did not have enough intelligence. The stronger the blood was, the more they wanted to devour. There were beasts constantly approaching. Yan Yunbei leaned against the stone wall and kept using his divine power. As long as he used his divine power, the wound on his chest would burst open. Bai Ling's sword almost pierced through his heart. It was because of this slight deviation that he escaped death. However, his injuries made him unable to deal with the beasts. Yan Yunbei covered his chest and held the short blade in his right hand. He stared at the beasts and used his aura to suppress them, hoping that they would back off. "Get lost!" Yan Yunbei roared. Roar! A huge wolf kept approaching. Its fangs were eerie and its terrifying eyes carried a trace of desire. It stared at Yan Yunbei and drooled. Roar! Another huge beast appeared in front of Yan Yunbei. Shoo 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 shoo. At this time, the blood attracted more and more beasts. They were vigilant against each other but also wanted to kill Yan Yunbei. Yan Yunbei could not help but feel dispirited. He could kill one beast but not the second. He could escape from the wolf, but he might not be able to escape from the other beasts. To think that I, a heaven's pride of my generation, would die in the claws of a beast. How ridiculous! Yan Yunbei laughed bitterly. Roar! A huge vicious beast let out a low roar, wanting to intimidate the other vicious beasts into not interfering. Its might was terrifying, and even the vicious wolf was somewhat apprehensive. Yan Yunbei did not want to die in the mouth of a beast. He would rather die in the hands of a demon god. He could not help but roar, "I am Yan Yunbei of the 9 continents. Who will fight with me?" His voice was mighty and shook the mountains and rivers, breaking the silence of the mountain. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The ancient trees rustled and the night wind blew, making the place even more eerie. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A few figures rushed out from the forest, their eyes shining. Yi Qinghan's subordinate. Ha ha ha, if we capture him, I'm sure that Hell's Dream will reward us handsomely. The leader of the group suddenly burst into laughter. He led his subordinates to break through the ferocious beasts and approached Yan Yunbei. "Surrender and you might be able to live," the big man said coldly. Yan Yunbei grinned. His voice was hoarse and exhausted. He disdainfully said, "A nobody doesn't deserve to capture me alive. I'm a nobody. You're really a country bumpkin from a small domain. Trash, when this daddy was conquering the eternal world, you were still in your mother's womb." The burly man disdainfully glanced at a fake world lord expert beside him. The fake sector lord was stunned. He was slightly afraid as he nervously pulled out his sword and walked towards Yan Yunbei. "Don't resist. Otherwise, I'll take your life." The fake sector lord roared to boost his courage as he continued to approach Yan Yunbei. Whoosh. Puchi. No matter how injured Yan Yunbei was, he wouldn't be captured alive by a fake sector lord. His figure flashed and the throat of the fake sector lord was slit. Poof. Pang. Yan Yunbei rolled on a huge rock as blood spurted out from his mouth. The wound on his chest burst open and blood flowed out, dyeing his battle robe red. However, his legs were still supporting him, preventing him from falling to the ground. Once he fell to the ground, it meant that he had lost his deterrence and had become someone's prey. That burly sector lord sneered. His lips curled up as he signaled the 7 fake sector lord subordinates to attack together. However, he wasn't willing to take the risk. A sector lord's final attack was extremely terrifying, let alone an existence that was on par with a paragon ghost god. Yan Yunbei's left hand was covered in blood. His eyes gradually lost their light. He couldn't even hold the short blade in his right hand. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Old Yi, you're on your own in the future. This brother can only help you to this point." Yan Yunbei roared hoarsely. What a good brotherly love. It's touching. However, the eternal world doesn't need love. It only needs strength. You are my prey. A prey that can be exchanged for large amounts of treasures. The burly man snorted. Boom. Just at this moment, a blade light tore through the darkness and swept past Yan Yunbei's head. It pierced through a few fake sector lords and went straight for the burly man. The burly man was shocked. He waved his hand and pulled out his sword to block the blade light. However, he was sent flying by the force of the blade light. He retreated dozens of steps and crashed into an ancient tree. The ancient tree was broken, causing him to grimace in pain. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger was almost broken. Taking advantage of others when they are in danger isn't something a hero should do. Scram! A deep voice resounded through the valley. The aura was terrifying. A strand of divine sense locked onto the burly man in front of Yan Yunbei. As long as he dared to move, the next blade would be enough to destroy him. Yan Yunbei was shocked. He didn't expect that someone would be willing to help him here. However, he didn't turn around because the person behind him had locked onto him as well. He didn't dare to act rashly. Fellow Taoist, don't you understand the principle of first come first serve? I found this person. He is my prey. You can't take him away. The burly man glared at the huge rock above Yan Yunbei and said in a deep voice. You also said that there is no need for emotions in the eternal world. Only strength is needed. If you defeat me, you can take away the prey. The person said coldly. If that's the case, then let's fight. Since I dared to enter the absolute domain, I'm not someone to be trifled with. The burly man was furious. He raised his sword and pierced towards Yan Yunbei. Hua! Yan Yunbei coughed up blood from the impact of the qi. However, the person behind him quickly made his move. With a slash of his blade, he split the ground and collided with the large man's sword. The divine sword, a boundary weapon, was broken. The divine blade broke through the large man's defense and slashed open his body with lightning speed. Boom! A wave of force swept towards the burly man's limbs and bones, instantly destroying all of his life force. One move was so simple and domineering. One could see how strong the burly man was. Yan Yunbei stared at the back of the person who came and took a deep breath. The person was wearing a luxurious brocade robe. His origin wasn't simple. Thank you. Yan Yunbei said hoarsely. How do you know that I'm not handing you over to Hell Dream Lord? It's too early to thank me. The person turned around. He was a vigorous middle-aged man. He was very dignified. His voice carried an inviolable will. His face was very handsome. When he was young, he must have been a giant among men. As long as I don't die in the hands of a thief, it's worth it. It's not too early to thank me. Yan Yunbei said in a deep voice. Sixth Martial Uncle, you're not really handing this person over to Hell Dream Lord, are you? At that moment, two people appeared on the rock behind Yan Yunbei. It was a man and a woman. They were very young. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. They looked at the middle-aged man curiously. Humph, I'm not interested in pleasing that old witch. I still have some grudges with her. You want me to give her a favor? Dream on. The middle-aged man said coldly. Chapter 1670. The two youngsters beside the middle-aged man looked very young and were at most a few thousand years old. However, their cultivation was ridiculously strong. They were already at the initial stage of the Sector Lord Realm and had reached the third layer of the Sector Lord Realm. They were definitely elites among elites. At this moment, they were looking at Yan Yunbei with admiration. Sixth Martial Uncle, how do you plan to deal with this Yan Yunbei? The little girl looked at the middle-aged man with her big clear eyes and asked with anticipation. Take him away. He might be useful. The middle-aged man said. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man was as fast as lightning. He directly sealed Yan Yunbei's 8 extraordinary meridians, trapping his divine force in one place and preventing him from using it. Yan Yunbei's pupils shrunk. He didn't expect this person's strength to be so abnormal. Even if he was in his peak state, he wouldn't be able to assassinate this person because this person's speed was much faster than him. Pa! The middle-aged man casually tapped Yan Yunbei's acupuncture point on his neck, causing him to faint. Then, he carried Yan Yunbei on his back. It was impossible for such experts to bring their own world with them when they went out for training. Once they died, their world would at least be passed down. However, if they were to take their world away, it would be devoured by their enemies and become a part of their world. Eternal World didn't have a storage space nor a life storage space. The purpose of this was to facilitate the investigation of criminals. No matter how strong the middle-aged man was, he could only carry Yan Yunbei on his back. Let's go and stop training. The middle-aged man said indifferently. Shio shio shio. The three of them left with Yan Yunbei and disappeared into the dark night. No one knew who Yan Yunbei was and what his fate was. At this moment, the star-twining vine rushed into the desolate region and used its unique communication method to communicate with the intelligent demon trees. After probing deeper, it found out that Yan Yunbei was heavily injured and was taken away by unknown people. The only thing it could confirm was that they weren't from hell. This could be considered a great fortune amidst the misfortune. The star-twining vine quickly retreated like a wandering dragon. Yi Qinghan was still recuperating in the mountain village. Unfortunately, Yan Yunbei didn't meet up with him. He was vaguely worried about Yan Yunbei's safety. During this month, the multicolored snake hunted down powerful vicious beasts all over the place, providing Yi Qinghan with the energy in blood essence. The star-twining vine was in charge of protecting him, and Xiaoyan was in charge of cooking. This saved him a lot of trouble, and he cultivated day and night. Finally, his injuries were mostly healed. In the third month, Yi Qinghan finally recovered from his injuries to his peak state. Moreover, he had made considerable progress. His strength had increased by 10%. This time, he had gained a lot from this deathmatch. At this time, instead of waiting for Yan Yunbei to meet up with him, he received the blessed Buddha temple's order to kill him. The big man from the mountain village held the arrest warrant and didn't dare to tell anyone. Looking at Yi Qinghan's appearance, he was frightened and didn't dare to tell anyone. After finding Xiaoyan, he sternly warned her not to reveal any information about Yi Qinghan. At this time, he understood that if he notified the blessed Buddha temple, the whole village would be razed to the ground, and he wouldn't be able to survive. Some wealth could only be obtained with one's life, but not spent with one's life. He might as well earn some money from Yi Qinghan. At least he would be safe. The big man was also a smart man. He found Yi Qinghan and gave him the arrest warrant. On one hand, it was to express goodwill, and on the other hand, it was to remind Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan looked at the arrest warrant with a cold glint in his eyes. He stared at the big man and said, "Why didn't you report to the blessed Buddha temple? Instead, you came to remind me. You should know that the blessed Buddha temple's reward is thousands of times more than mine. Esteemed Lord, we are just small villagers. How could we dare to interfere with the matters of the venerables? This lowly one took your divine medicine, so at least we are safe. But if we notify the blessed Buddha temple, our small mountain village will definitely be affected by the war. Not a single person will be left alive. Esteemed Lord, please understand. This lowly one has absolutely no intention of harming you." The big man repeatedly promised. Yi Qinghan nodded and whispered, "Yes, smart people. I like to deal with smart people. Don't worry, I won't mistreat you. This is a paramount profound secret art, the flowing water sword art. As long as you cultivate it seriously, reaching the giant god great circle won't be a problem." Yi Qinghan casually threw a sword art profound secret to the big man as a form of repayment. "Many thanks, esteemed lord." The big man received the sword art and was immediately overjoyed. He knelt on the ground and expressed his gratitude. "I'm waiting for someone. When he arrives, I'll leave immediately. I won't implicate the village." Yi Qinghan waved his hand, indicating for the big man to leave. The big man happily hid the sword art in his chest and left happily. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the edge of the bed and continued to cultivate the heavenly towering record and mysterious yin-yang record. Occasionally, he would recall the star-scattered chessboard. However, the star-scattered chessboard was difficult to comprehend. Even a single profound secret contained destructive power. If he guessed correctly, the star-scattered chessboard should be an eternal divine artifact, a weapon used by eternal sovereigns. After waiting in the courtyard for another 3 days, the star-twisting vine's clone quickly rushed into the fenced courtyard and met up with the main body. The star-twisting vine received the message and immediately used its soul to explain the process. Hiss! Hiss! Yi Qinghan took a few deep breaths and clenched his fists. He couldn't confirm whether Yan Yunbei was dead or alive. He immediately became anxious. In the vast eternal world, who didn't know how many major forces there were? There weren't many eternal sovereigns, but there were many sector lords. There were countless people like him in the entire eternal world. Who knew which sect the three people who took Yen Yunbei away were from? Bastard! Yi Qinghan fiercely swung his hand, a cold light flashing in his eyes. What should we do now? Return to the land of the 9 prefectures? The divine bird asked helplessly. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched, and he coldly said, I don't know whether old Yen is dead or alive because of me. How can I have the face to return to the land of the 9 prefectures? What's more, if we return now, won't we be luring revered Dream and the others to the small territory? These sons of bitches are too stingy. When the small ones can't beat us, they send the big ones. When the big ones can't beat us, they send the old ones. Will the eternal sovereigns personally take action if we fail this mission? The divine bird angrily cursed. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said, the eternal sovereigns aren't omnipotent. They can't use their divine sense without restraint in other territories. If they want to kill me, they should at least find me first. I don't believe that a supreme existence would dare to threaten me with the lives of other people in a small territory just to kill a sector lord. After saying that, Yi Qinghan packed up and left under the cover of the night. However, he left some divine herbs in the room as a way to repay the big man's kindness of taking him in. From the beginning to the end, only little Lien and the big man knew about his appearance and disappearance. Yi Qinghan took advantage of the night to travel through the endless mountains and rivers, gradually speeding towards the depths of the blessed Buddha temple. The territory of the blessed Buddha temple was vast and boundless. The hearts of the people in the territory were indeed kind-hearted. They were timid and didn't know how to resist. They always hoped that the people who bullied them would put down their butcher's knife and repent. Their behavior was childish and laughable, but also very sad. Chapter 1671. The night sky was alluring, but no one was in the mood to appreciate it. The boundless great world was countless times larger than a small domain. Furthermore, due to the suppression of order, they couldn't fly. Some sector lords couldn't even leave the territory of a great power in their lifetime. Yi Qinghan walked forward. The only thing he could do now was to leave the blessed Buddha temple's territory. However, it was too big. If he walked, it would take at least 100 years. The sky gradually brightened. The first ray of sunlight shone on his face. It was so enchanting. However, his handsome face revealed a trace of exhaustion. His injuries had just healed and had yet to fully recover. He had only traveled for a night, but there was an indescribable power wreaking havoc in his body. The power of hell was so strange. The power of that I was clearly borrowing the power of an eternal. Although it was very little, it could easily deal with a sector lord like Yi Qinghan. Master, this isn't a solution. We have to find a treasure to completely heal your injuries. Otherwise, with your current condition, if you meet Dream Lord or the 10 demon gods again, you won't even have a chance to survive. The divine bird was worried. Yi Qinghan looked up at the bright mountains and rivers. There were temples everywhere. Every mountain with spiritual energy was occupied by a temple. This meant that this place belonged to the blessed Buddha temple. Everything here belonged to the blessed Buddha. Others couldn't enter to search for treasures. Even if they found something, they had to hand it over to the temple. The temple might reward them with some money. We don't have the common currency of the great world. We can't buy any treasures or divine medicine. Yi Qinghan muttered. Have you forgotten what this divine bird does? Digging graves, digging holes, searching for treasures. I'm proficient in everything. The divine bird said proudly. Yi Qinghan smiled, but he was tired. He nodded, all right. It's not suitable for us to enter the city with our current status. Let's find a spiritual mountain and some divine medicine to heal our injuries first. With that, Yi Qinghan put on his bamboo hat, covering his upper body, and went straight into the depths. Early in the morning, people were supposed to be sleeping in. However, there were many people on the road. Go, go, go. Following closely behind, dozens of mystical horses rushed past Yi Qinghan's side, but they circled around and blocked his path. Take off your bamboo hat. The leader of the group was a big man who was incomparably fierce and imposing. He wore the unique uniform of a bounty hunter. At this moment, he pointed at Yi Qinghan and ordered coldly. Bounty hunters were a profession that had existed since ancient times. They were an organization that specialized in hunting down wanted criminals. Every member of the bounty hunters had a powerful cultivation base. They were all supreme experts of the same rank. It was a powerful organization established by an eternal sovereign. They had members all over the outside world. They had the most members of any organization in the outside world. Every major force had their own branch. They were strong and scattered, so any super force would have to give them some face. Even the Blessed Buddha Temple's official forces would have to give them some face. However, bounty hunters weren't stupid enough to go against these super forces. Most of the time, they would give way to each other. Yi Qinghan was wearing a bamboo hat. It was very obvious and also very irksome. There were many people on the road, but they were all ordinary people and no one dressed strangely. However, Yi Qinghan's face was too handsome and his aura was unique. If he did not wear the bamboo hat, he would be recognized at a glance. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist and said coldly, "Scram. Courting death. You even dare to challenge a bounty hunter's order." The person beside the big man reprimanded. It's Feng Luo, a captain of the Blessed Buddha Temple's bounty hunter headquarters. His cultivation is at Sector Lord level 5 and his fighting strength is monstrous. The 10 people beside him aren't weak either. The surrounding people all moved aside and discussed. Their voices weren't soft. After Feng Luo heard it, he became even more arrogant. His eyes looked up and stared at Yi Qinghan in disdain as though saying, "Do you understand my identity now? Bounty hunter?" Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice had a trace of coldness as he said coldly, "Well, water doesn't interfere with river water. You carry out your mission, I carry out mine. Don't disturb me, scram. I suspect you are a fugitive. Take off your bamboo hat and accept inspection." Feng Luo reprimanded sternly. Yi Qinghan circulated his god power, wanting to change his body and face. However, due to the suppression of order, he couldn't change his face. This was the order of the great world. If he wanted to change his face, he would have to reconstruct his golden body. However, that was very troublesome. To control the great world, the eternal sovereigns set up the strongest order. As long as one was a fugitive, they would either enter the absolute region or wait to be captured. Since he couldn't change his face, Yi Qinghan couldn't take off his bamboo hat. At this moment, his mood was gloomy. His killing intent shot out in all directions. His aura gradually rose and enveloped everyone. Who is this person? He actually dares to challenge a bounty hunter. If he offends a bounty hunter, he probably won't be able to move an inch in the territories of the major factions. He's probably either a fugitive or someone from a major faction. He doesn't care about bounty hunters at all. The surrounding people looked at Yi Qinghan and the group of bounty hunters with strange smiles on their faces. It was as if they enjoyed watching a fierce battle between major factions. If you want to take off my bamboo hat, defeat me, and I'll give you my life. If you lose, I want one thing from you, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Feng Luo frowned. For a moment, he couldn't figure out who Yi Qinghan was. He asked, "What thing?" "The head." The head. Yi Qinghan's voice reverberated in the air. It was as if killing a bounty hunter was as easy as slaughtering a dog. "You!" Feng Luo was furious. The group of bounty hunters beside him also had a drastic change in expression. They all glared at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's cold eyes shot out from his bamboo hat. It was so cold that it was like a sharp sword piercing into the bounty hunter's eyes. Feng Luo and the others shuddered. They felt a sharp pain in their spines. They took a deep breath and felt a sense of fear in their hearts. You're just a small fry. This seat is working for the Supreme Eternal Sovereign. If you delay, I'll take your lives. Now, scram. Don't provoke me again, Yi Qinghan coldly reprimanded. Feng Luo no longer dared to oppose Yi Qinghan. When he heard these words, he immediately climbed up the pole and cupped his fists. So it's one of the Supreme Eternal Sovereign's men. This seat has eyes but failed to recognize a jade inlaid with gold. Goodbye. Feng Luo waved his hand, and more than a dozen divine horses automatically moved aside, opening up a path. Yi Qinghan shuttled through. Although it seemed slow, it was as if he was teleporting. Soon, he appeared in the distance. Feng Luo's face was filled with unwillingness. He said to the 10 people beside him, "Little Li, go back and inform the branch. At the same time, check if there are any special arrest warrants. The rest of you, follow me to follow this person. I suspect there's something wrong with him. Captain, this person is very strong." The other bounty hunters were somewhat worried. If they followed such an expert, sooner or later, something would happen. Strong? Could it be that he dares to kill bounty hunters in front of so many people? As long as we don't provoke him, we can just follow him. Feng Luo sneered. He quickly turned around and rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Go, go, go. The 9 horses rushed over, and the passers-by all avoided them. Yi Qinghan had only traveled a few dozen li when this group of people recklessly followed him. Chapter 1672. Yi Qinghan walked through the wilderness as if nothing had happened. The further he went, the more remote he became. Gradually, he stepped into the depths of the mountains. The mountain stream was clear, and the spiritual energy was overwhelming. The divine bird's shifty eyes flickered as it pointed at a mountain ahead. There's treasure up ahead. Although it's not high level, it's still meat. Yi Qinghan nodded. His gaze swept past Feng Luo's group. They were following closely behind, neither fast nor slow. They did not get close, but they could not shake them off either. They were very familiar with blessed Buddha Temple's territory. Even if he shook them off temporarily, they could still catch up. This bunch of lunatics. Why don't we just kill them? The divine bird was very unhappy, muttering under its breath. Ignore them, as long as they don't get in my way. Yi Qinghan glanced at them. After all, they were bounty hunters. There were so many big factions with their people. It would not be good to offend them. With that, Yi Qinghan dove down, climbing to the top of the mountain. With a leap, he rushed to a small peak on the opposite side. After a few rolls, he dissipated the force. Occasionally, he would use the vines to flash past like a nimble monkey. The group of bounty hunters could not keep up with Yi Qinghan's speed, nor could they be as exaggerated as him. They also did not have the guts, so they could only take a detour. However, Yi Qinghan disappeared into the wilderness, leaving no trace behind. Deep in the forest, brambles were everywhere. Ferocious beasts and birds were everywhere. Some were as strong as paramount gods, but they had no intelligence. Their battle strength was comparable to paramount gods, and they could kill giant gods instantly. Yi Qinghan shuttled through the forest, heading straight for the divine bird's direction. It was a valley with strange fluctuations of divine power. How come I don't feel any spiritual energy fluctuations here? The divine bird jumped out of its bamboo hat, looking at the valley in surprise. If it was not right in front of it, it would not have felt anything strange about this place. Not far from this valley, just a few mountains away, there was a Buddhist temple. This meant that this place belonged to the blessed Buddha temple. Adventurers and hunters were not allowed to come here to search for treasures. The blessed Buddha temple's territory was vast, they couldn't search every corner. Thus, there were still many primitive places where treasures grew. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and leaped into the valley. He realized that everything within 100 miles was red. They were all strange red flowers, but no other creatures had entered this place. Although the red flowers were beautiful, they were incomparably vicious. Even the birds were unwilling to stay here. There were no birds or beasts, but there were some poisonous snakes sticking out their tongues and coiling around the red flowers. What flower is this? The spiritual qi doesn't come from within them. Yi Qinghan was rather curious. The spiritual qi seemed to be coming from underground. God knows what this is. I don't like it, and I'm not interested. The divine bird looked around in a wretched manner. It didn't find anything that was emitting spirit qi, but it did find that the red flowers were also absorbing spirit qi. The flowers emitted poisonous substances that made the body itch unbearably. A scratch would leave a bloody mark that couldn't be removed. This was probably the reason why no one mined this place. Yi Qinghan was immune to poison, unbreakable by fire and water. He didn't care about these poisonous flowers at all. He reached out and plucked one of the red flowers. He sniffed and couldn't help but sneeze. The poisonous substances were trying to enter his body, but he forced them out. Insect Queen Mother, help me find out what's underground. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and summoned the Insect Queen Mother, placing her on the red flower. Swoosh! The Insect Queen Mother actually swallowed the red flowers faster and faster. The red flowers withered as if they were very afraid of the Insect Queen Mother. The black poisonous substances shrouded the area like a fog. The Insect Queen Mother was unusually excited and seemed to have forgotten her mission. Soon, the valley was cleared out and an empty space was formed. Master, this food is not bad. It can increase my strength and increase my toxicity. The Insect Queen Mother excitedly sent out a soul ripple. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said indifferently, then eat it. At the same time, see if the underground soil is poisonous. If not, I'll go down and take a look myself. There are poisonous substances underground. Master, please wait a moment. After I swallow these poisonous flowers, I'll come back to deal with these poisonous substances. The Insect Queen Mother split into countless insects and silently swallowed the red flowers. The Insect Queen Mother actually grew bigger and bigger. Now, it was about the size of 2 fingernails. The Insect Queen Mother didn't look disgusting. In fact, it was cute. However, if it really went crazy, it could probably swallow a city and turn the human world into hell. Yi Qinghan sat on a rock and absorbed the spirit qi while waiting for the Insect Queen Mother to finish eating. After an entire day, the Insect Queen Mother actually grew to the size of a fist. The poisonous flowers in the valley were all swallowed by it. The number of insects increased and its swallowing ability increased by a lot. The Insect Queen Mother had officially reached the Sector Lord level. Its strength had increased by more than 1,000 times. If Yi Qinghan had met such an Insect Queen back then, he would have been tortured to death. Master. The Insect Queen was rather human-like. It was chubby and stood beside Yi Qinghan while rubbing his pants. Its soul ripple was very clear. The poison in its body made Yi Qinghan's hairs stand. Go underground and see if there are any treasures emitting spirit qi. If possible, help me take them out. Yi Qinghan stared at the Insect Queen and said. Yes. Great Master. Xiao. The Insect Queen brought a large group of insects and rushed underground. The ground was like nothing and didn't obstruct them at all. The divine bird's feathers bristled as it watched the Insect Queen's disappearing figure. It said in shock, "This thing is so awesome. If it enters the Hell Reincarnation Cliff, do you think it will swallow all the resentment and filth there?" Yi Qinghan didn't dare to be sure. These insects seemed to prefer poison as their food. Even the unconscious insects were very scary. He was even more vigilant against them. It has to be controlled in our hands. Otherwise, it might destroy a large area of mountains and rivers. Who knows how many undead will die in their mouths? Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. I'm still the best. This divine bird is smart and capable. I'm also an expert at finding treasures. The divine bird said proudly. TSK. The star-twining vine and the rainbow snake laughed at the same time. Their soul ripples were unusually disdainful. Envy, jealousy, naked jealousy, and hatred. But it doesn't matter. Who asked me to be the boss? I'm broad-minded and won't bicker with you people. The divine bird said proudly. Yi Qinghan curled his lips. He wasn't in the mood to joke. He stared at the ground. The only thing on his mind was to quickly recover his strength and find a way to reach the highest level. He wanted to become an existence that could control his own life and death. At this moment, the ground cracked open. Countless insects were dissected, carrying a transparent crystal and a blood-red plant. It looked a bit like flesh and blood. It emitted a torrential spirit chi that assailed the nostrils. The insect queen ordered the insects to deliver the two items to Yi Qinghan as if it was presenting a treasure. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. These two items were both priceless treasures that were extremely hard to find. The red plant was formed from spirit chi and was mixed with an endless amount of immortal chi. It was as if it was born from the chaos of heaven and earth. As for the transparent crystal, it wasn't jade, nor was it a work of art. It was clearly formed from immortal chi. Chapter 1673. Yi Qinghan held the two divine items in his hands. The immortal aura was restrained, but the moment he touched them, he could feel the majestic immortal aura inside. Divine items. Yi Qinghan sighed. Give me one. I can accept 10%, the divine bird said flatteringly. Yi Qinghan tore off a small piece of the red plant and threw it to the divine bird. It was only a small piece, but it contained boundless energy. The torn flesh immediately healed. The divine bird swallowed it in one gulp. Before it could even praise its master's greatness, it directly fell asleep on the rock. The power in its body was rapidly increasing, and its vitality was boundless. It was almost able to revive a dead person. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He hurriedly helped the divine bird consume the energy, afraid that the immortal aura would cause it to explode. Soon, the divine bird woke up. Its face was full of regret. It said flatteringly, "Great master, I didn't taste it just now. I forgot to keep a part. Please give me some more. Just a little bit. I beg you, great master." Yi Qinghan had no choice but to tear off another small piece. It was about 1/20th of the plant and threw it to the divine bird. The divine bird hid it carefully. Its face was full of satisfaction. Yi Qinghan released the star-twining vine and the rainbow snake. He sat cross-legged on the rock, tore off half of the plant, and swallowed it. Boom! A surge of immortal aura and majestic life force rushed to his limbs and bones. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's wounds quickly healed. The destructive aura was instantly shattered into powder and rushed out of his body. Divine light flowed on his plump skin. It was as perfect as divine jade. His handsome face revealed a trace of divinity. The internal injuries from all these years were slowly healing. His power was restored to its peak state. The immortal aura in his body spread and gathered in his dantian. It was like a surging ocean. The spiritual pets hidden within his body began to awaken one after another. The little golden crow, the little money grubber, they all suddenly woke up and began to frantically absorb immortal essence energy. A strand of immortal light entered the divine bird egg, causing the divine egg to jump about excitedly. The Qilin roared and rushed out from the surface of his body. An imprint appeared on his wrist. The startwining vine outside his body charged up the tall mountain and coiled around the lofty ridges of the mountain. It was a multicolored snake that roared furiously and shook the mountains and rivers, and it seemed like it was about to transform into a dragon. The dragon's scales were dazzling with golden light, and its dignified aura enveloped the surroundings and seized one's soul. The multicolored snake also wanted to break through to the world overlord realm. Once it stepped into that realm, it would definitely transform into a divine dragon, comparable to the heavenly beasts of the past. It might even surpass the divine dragons of the past. Yi Qinghan ignored him. Instead, he focused on cultivating himself, borrowing the immortal energy to comprehend the profound record of yin-yang. If he could cultivate the profound record of yin-yang to the highest level, he would also be able to deduce the order of eternal world. Yi Qinghan continuously formed hand seals with his palms. Divine light burst forth from the surface of his body as his aura grew stronger and stronger. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan wretchedly, drooling as if it was looking at a divine treasure. Motherfucker, why don't I feel anything after eating it? Logically speaking, I should have become a world overlord. The divine bird was unwilling to accept this. It couldn't forget about the world overlord realm. It muttered, this shouldn't be. This divine bird is gifted with extraordinary talent and wisdom. I should be born with an eternal life. Indeed, after eating the supreme divine medicine, the divine bird was indeed wasted. It was useless and didn't have any reaction at all. Son of a bitch, if I am a world overlord, do you think others can be so arrogant? I will kill every single one of them. The divine bird was flustered and exasperated. If its cultivation was strong enough, it would have turned the world upside down long ago. The divine bird jumped up and down beside Yi Qinghan, asking about how the startwining vine and the multicolored snake cultivated. However, the startwining vine relied on eating, and the multicolored snake relied on eating as well. They were the ones with extraordinary talent, relying on devouring to advance. O heavens, O earth, can't you be more fair? I would rather use 1,000th of my intelligence to exchange for their extraordinary talent. These idiots can advance by eating, why can't I? The divine bird raised its head and roared. It was so mad that its feathers exploded. It wanted nothing more than to tear apart the heavens with a claw. The sky gradually darkened. Dark clouds covered the sky, and not a single ray of light could be seen. However, the valley was still radiating with divine light. Yi Qinghan was like a luminous object. No matter how dark the night was, it couldn't block out his radiance. Screech. A long screech pierced through the void. The goshawk soared through the sky. Its cold light was like a star that could seize one's soul. It swept a glance across the valley and discovered the majestic immortal aura on Yi Qinghan's body. Screech, the goshawk let out a mournful roar and grabbed at Yi Qinghan. Xiao! Bang! The startwining vine suddenly shot out several vines, directly grabbing the goshawk's claws and wings. The multicolored snake's fangs controlled it, and it rushed up from the ground. Its jumping power was extremely great, and its speed was as fast as lightning. It directly bit through the goshawk's neck, and majestic poison spread out in all directions. Boom! The goshawk fell. Half of it was torn apart by the startwining vine. Its essence, blood and flesh were absorbed by the vines, leaving behind a shriveled corpse. The other half was swallowed by the multicolored snake. Damn, a bunch of gluttons. This kind of trash food can also allow them to advance. This divine bird eats and drinks well, and my intelligence is so high. Why can't I advance? The divine bird was unwilling to admit defeat as it spurned the two divine pets. Maybe it's because you eat too well. Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes and smiled faintly. Then aren't you eating better than me? Why can you advance to the pinnacle of Sector Lord? The divine bird asked unwillingly. This seat's talent is extraordinary, and my intelligence surpasses others. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and retorted. Bullshit, this daddy's intelligence far surpasses yours, Pa. Yi Qinghan fiercely slapped the divine bird, sending it flying. You can't hide the truth even if you hit me. I just want to know why I can't advance to Sector Lord. The divine bird angrily roared. Maybe it's because your bloodline's grade isn't high enough. Yi Qinghan shrugged his shoulders. He packed up and prepared to leave. However, this sentence stepped on the divine bird's sore spot. The divine bird bared its teeth and stared at Yi Qinghan as if it was insulted. It roared angrily, "Are you saying that my bloodline's grade is inferior to this group of low-grade life forms? This divine bird's bloodline is of the highest grade, higher than any divine dragon or qilin. Who knows how many people have been killed by me? You actually dare to insult me. I'm going to part ways with you. From today onwards, you go your own way, and I'll go mine." Yi Qinghan was speechless. He covered his forehead with his big hand and was a little mad. He didn't expect the divine bird to be so difficult to deal with when it was serious. The divine bird's intelligence is unparalleled. As the saying goes, when the heavens give a great responsibility to a great man, it must first torment his will, work his muscles and bones, and starve his body. Maybe the heavens are testing you, laying a solid foundation for you to reach the eternal realm in the future. Yi Qinghan said with a serious face. Yes, the heavens are testing you. When the divine bird heard this, it suddenly understood and nodded in agreement. Yes, this is a reasonable explanation. So, great divine bird, let's stop fooling around. Let's go, let's leave this place first. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. The divine bird happily ran to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Its anger immediately dissipated as if nothing had happened. Chapter 1674. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took away the 3 spirit pets. The divine bird sat on his shoulder, overjoyed. He had finally found an excuse for not being able to break through. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The night sky was filled with stars. The vast moon dyed the sky white. Under the blue sky, the wind blew, swaying the treetops. The leaves slapped against each other, emitting a serene sound. Roar. Screech. Night beasts and birds flew past the mountains, but they were intimidated by Yi Qinghan's powerful aura and did not dare to approach. However, the group of bounty hunters were like sticky candy, blocking Yi Qinghan from the front. They did not strike up a conversation, nor did they offend Yi Qinghan. They just followed quietly. There were many hunters and adventurers in the mountains. They had to pay a fixed amount each year to enter the mountains to search for treasures. It was equivalent to contracting the mountains and rivers. However, Blessed Buddha Temple was a smart organization. They had set aside a large mountain range for countless people to contract. No matter how many treasures they obtained, they had to pay a fixed amount of money. The bounty hunters rode on powerful horses and moved as fast as the wind. Every 30 to 50 steps, they would follow the adventurers from time to time. They believed that Yi Qinghan wouldn't dare to make a move against them. If news of this spread, they would definitely be hunted down by the bounty hunter headquarters. No one would be able to escape the bounty hunter headquarters' pursuit. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at Feng Luo's group. Murderous intent surged from the bottom of his heart. Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. Then, he turned around and walked towards a more dangerous mountainous area, throwing away the bamboo hat in his hand. When Feng Luo and the others saw this, they immediately galloped forward, wanting to see Yi Qinghan's face clearly. However, the faster they galloped, the faster Yi Qinghan galloped. Yi Qinghan kept a distance of about 100 meters, as if he was deliberately baiting them. But the bounty hunters were too confident. They were the strongest among their peers. With their official status and background, who would dare to touch them? Feng Luo led the 9 bounty hunters and rushed into the depths of the forest. The further they went, the more remote they became. There were almost no hunters or treasure hunters left. Yi Qinghan climbed up a small mountain peak. With his back facing the crowd, he reached out and picked up a few thin leaves. They were extremely sharp and he slowly played with them in his hands. At this moment, Feng Luo ordered one of his confidants to lead 6 bounty hunters to the top of the mountain. Feng Luo himself led 2 bounty hunters to the foot of the mountain. As soon as Yi Qinghan made a move, Feng Luo would be able to escape immediately. This way, they would be able to confirm that Yi Qinghan was a wanted criminal. Yi Qinghan chuckled coldly. His face was like a cloud of mist, surrounded by larvae. The paramount god bounty hunter stared at Yi Qinghan, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't see what he looked like. He had no choice but to go down the mountain and report to Feng Luo. Feng Luo was unwilling to give up. After following Yi Qinghan for so long, he would not be able to accept it if he did not see Yi Qinghan's face. A bunch of trash. Feng Luo led the 9 bounty hunters up the mountain. They were getting closer and closer to Yi Qinghan. It seems that you are very interested in my appearance. Yi Qinghan said with a hoarse voice. Feng Luo snorted and then said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist, we are just passing by. There is no need to be nervous." Yi Qinghan silently turned his head. He was only 10 meters away from the bounty hunters. He looked down at them from above. His face was covered in black poison, making it impossible to see his appearance clearly. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 9 thin leaves pierced through the heads of the 9 low-level bounty hunters like sharp blades. A destructive aura accompanied the leaves and exploded in their heads. It spread to their limbs and bones, instantly destroying their vitality. Boom! Yi Qinghan stomped on the ground with the tip of his foot. Yi Qinghan swooped down like lightning. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Feng Luo. Feng Luo's throat was broken, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. His whole body twitched. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not break free from Feng Luo's grasp. "Since you like to see, I'll let you see to your heart's content. Do you know me?" Yi Qinghan withdrew the poison. His jade-like face had a gloomy and cruel smile as he stared at Feng Luo and asked. Feng Luo's hair stood on end. As a bounty hunter, how could he not know that Yi Qinghan's wanted order was worth 10,000 complete strands of faith? Faith was the universal currency in the outside world. However, faith was an illusory thing. Only half-step eternal experts could forge it into a physical object. Every strand of faith could buy countless divine treasures. Yi Qinghan's life was worth 10,000 complete strands of faith. Moreover, it was of a very high grade. There weren't many strands of faith in the outside world. No one could forge them. Half-step eternal experts wouldn't forge too many either. It wouldn't devalue faith. 10,000 strands of faith could buy a city. Or, one could become an overlord and offer it to a great force to obtain a noble title. Hiss hiss hiss. Feng Luo sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyeballs were almost squeezed out by Yi Qinghan. He recognized Yi Qinghan but didn't dare to admit it. He shook his head repeatedly and begged, "Sir, please spare my life. This lowly one doesn't know you. We're really just passing by. Please spare my life." Yi Qinghan sneered and said disdainfully, "You're really a failed bounty hunter. You don't even know me. Then let me tell you. This king is Yi Qinghan, a wanted criminal in hell and blessed Buddha temple. I'm worth 10,000 strands of faith. Back then, the burly man from the small village had shown Yi Qinghan the wanted poster. Yi Qinghan naturally understood his value. Feng Luo was much shorter than Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan lifted him up with one hand. His big hand clenched, directly controlling Feng Luo's soul in his sea of consciousness. He said coldly, "There are some people you shouldn't provoke. Only the bounty hunter headquarters is qualified to capture me. A piece of trash like you dares to stare at me. Aren't you courting death?" Bang! Boom! A strand of Yi Qinghan's soul rushed into Feng Luo's sea of consciousness and completely devoured his soul, turning it into his own. Feng Luo's memories were all plundered. He only had a rough understanding of the great world. However, Feng Luo's cultivation wasn't too high. He was only a small captain and had never left Blessed Buddha Temple in his life. He didn't know much about it. Yi Qinghan had a rough understanding, but it wasn't too useful. He only knew that Dream Supremacy and Blessed Buddha Temple were working together to hunt down criminals. After all, Blessed Buddha Temple's Wanjun Buddha died in Yi Qinghan's hands. Blessed Buddha Temple also wanted to do a favor to hell. Looks like I can't stay in Blessed Buddha Temple's territory anymore. Although Blessed Buddha Temple's territory is ruled by a dynasty, the dynasty is under the control of a Buddha. Yi Qinghan stared at Feng Luo's terrified face. He loosened his hand and Feng Luo's corpse fell to the ground. Even his life essence was completely devoured. In your next life, use your heart to judge people. Yi Qinghan said and walked away, stepping on the 10 bounty hunters' corpses. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Yi Qinghan traversed through the wilderness for an entire night before finally arriving at a big human city. This place was still considered prosperous, but it was heavily guarded. There were checkpoints everywhere. Some information bars and stone tablets were filled with wanted posters. Yi Qinghan's wanted poster was the most obvious. The high price attracted the attention of some experts. Not all bounty hunters were chasing after wanted criminals. Some experts would casually choose some challenging missions to complete. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.